welcome everybody to Sabbath class. Welcome everybody to the Israel, the very elect, and thank the Lord for allowing us to see another Sabbath day. We make it from one week to the next. Everybody wake up on the other side of the grave, which is a blessing. Instead of us being 6 feet under, the Lord allow us to see another day is definitely a blessing, considering all the different things that happened this week, all the different events that took place. Some kids went to school, didn't make it home. So we just get the Lord the honor and praise and glory for our kids, and also for allowing us to see another Sabbath day. Do me a favor, mate. Put that fan in the hole right. Just put it back by that door right there, and it'll blow in. But today we're going to get into a lesson. The title of this lesson today is called Rome, Man's Final Kingdom Before Christ's Return. Back it up some. Back that up some. Some more. Man's Final Kingdom Before Christ's Return is the title of the lesson. Alright, once again, the title of the lesson is Rome, Man's Final Kingdom Before Christ's Return. This ain't the type of lesson where you can really take it lightly. This has to do with history. And if I wasn't a flunky in history or a C average, I can't give myself no better than that. I was about a C, because first off, I was learning American history. So that didn't really interest me at all. Only thing they told me about my history is that we were slaves, we came from Africa, and the Africans sold Africans into slavery. And I didn't find that too amusing. And the other part of history that I had to, I was subjected to, I guess I would say, was the history of the Romans. The American history about the Pilgrims and Columbus and the Spaniards and all the different types of history that I was introduced to. I can be honest with you and say I hated it. However, with that said, when it comes to us getting into the Word of God, the Lord calls us, especially these men, Israelite men, to teach the gospel to the world. And when you're dealing with the Bible, history is all throughout the Bible. This is nothing but a big history book. So we've been doing this, I think, about a year now. And as time goes on, we're supposed to be able to grow in the Lord. You know, you start off in the milk, sincere milk of the Word. You're able to learn the law, statutes, and commandments. And as time goes on, you start getting a little bit more understanding in the Word. And if you're not getting more understanding, then you ain't studying like you should be. So what I'm going to attempt to do today is explain to you all about this final kingdom called Rome. This is one of our first in-depth lessons. I think the lesson we had a while back, New Jerusalem comes after the 1,000-year millennium. That was a lesson I did. That was kind of an intense lesson, but I had a chance to already go over that, so I was kind of prepared on what I was supposed to teach. I kind of had understanding. So today I am really going off of the Holy Spirit, which we should do anyway. But I'm saying, like, hey, I don't claim to know it. I studied. I mean, when I say I studied for almost 2 weeks. Not just 2 weeks on this, but also the time from when I came into the Word. You know, I've been sitting here listening to the elders and listening to the elders on this, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, this is still a tough lesson. So we just gonna believe the Lord. And I'm not claiming to be no top-notch elder, nothing like that. I'm learning as we all go along. So, but at some point we gotta start teaching y'all the things out of this Bible, so y'all can start learning, so y'all can start looking at the things around you all. So we're going to open up the Bible today. And like I say, the title of this lesson is called Rome, Man's Final Kingdom Before Christ's Return. Because little do we know, a lot of people in the world ain't paying attention, that the Lord gave mankind, every one of the sons of Adam, Noah after the flood, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, a time to rule. And the time to rule that he gave to Ham, they had it during the time of Nimrod with the old Babylon. And they messed it up. Then you had the Israelites come into rulership for a time, and we know they messed it up. And then after that, you had the seed of the Gentiles becoming the rulership. And this last and final kingdom going to be in rulership until the return of the Lord. And this is the Gentile seed that's in rulership right now, and it's also known as Japheth. But another reason this lesson got to be done is because a lot of people think that America is Babylon. America is not Babylon. America may be a part of the Babylonian system, but Babylon itself, it is not. We're going to find out this Babylonian kingdom was given to Nebuchadnezzar, passed all the way down to the Roman Empire, which we are up under today. America didn't just break off by itself and they all of a sudden become Babylon. Okay, it's just that Judah, Levi, and Benjamin came over to America, and the Lord really looking down, blessing the Israelites over here. Now we had it work over here, and we still got it kind of rough. But as far as us being scattered in the other nations, you know, they got it a whole lot more worse than we get. All right, so America is not Babylon just because you have everybody trying to come here to the melting pot and get a part of this and try to get a part of the American dream. That don't make this Babylon. Babylon is being ran by this empire that runs this whole world. All the stuff that come out of Babylon is now being pushed by Rome. What I mean by coming out of, I mean coming out of the previous Babylon, which were actually black folks, the Egyptians and the Hamites. But all the stuff that Rome is pushing today, the Sunday worship, the Easter comes from Astarte that come out of Babylon, the previous Babylon. Okay, so what they did was they just picked up the customs, and then you had, over time, you had the Chaldeans or the Gentile, which was another Babylon. They came up and took on the same characteristics of the previous Babylon. So that's why the Bible considered the Babylon we up under today Mystery Babylon, or Babylon the Great. If it was that easy for us to call Babylon, it wouldn't be called the mystery. Because everybody thinking America is Babylon. That's too easy. You have to get into the book and you got to search and find out what this is, so you'll know where we at as far as the coming of the Lord and what kind of time we're looking at. So let's go into the book of Isaiah. We're going to go into the book of Isaiah. We're going to go to 46, Isaiah chapter 46. We're going to pick it up at verse 9. When you get it, go ahead and read.
Remember the former things of old, for I am God,
Go ahead.
and there is none else. I am God, and there is none like me.
That's right.
Declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done.
Go ahead.
Saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure.
That's right. So doing this lesson today, we got to understand these kingdoms that we're going to look at, these kingdoms were already set up before we even came into existence. The Lord had already called and told Jeremiah the prophet what was going to take place. Alright, so when he said, I'm the God from old, calling them in from the beginning, that's what we have to understand. So some things we may see now today and don't understand it. I advise you to go into the prophets and look and see, because everybody's in their place where they're supposed to be at according to the word of God. Alright, that's it on that?
Yeah.
Alright, let's go over to Ephesians chapter 2. Ephesians chapter 2. And when I say I am going over this lesson with y'all today, I am going over this lesson with y'all. If we miss the mark today, we'll do it over. Okay? I ain't that high-minded where I understand. Because my job is to make sure I teach it to y'all right. So if I go off, I go wrong, and I listen to it, and I see it's off, then we're going to do it all over again. When I'm saying this is my first time, this is a dry run, usually I have time to go over these lessons. But this lesson was so intense that you really got to line everything up. You know what I'm saying? I ain't have time. This really should have took me like 3 or 4 weeks. You know what I'm saying? But I know I can't get off the phone. So, but like I said, I'm going over dry run with y'all. So, but in the meantime, y'all still going to learn. All right, so we're going to pick it up at Ephesians chapter 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse 18. And this is Paul talking to the Gentiles, letting them know how we are all now one, because Christ came and died for us. So that wall that was set up between, that divided the Gentiles and the Israelites, Christ came and died, and he knocked that wall down. So now we all become one. Go ahead and read, brother.
For through him we both have access by one Spirit unto the Father.
That's right. That one Spirit is the Word of God. We have access by one Spirit now. Go ahead.
Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners,
Go ahead.
but fellow citizens with the saints.
That's right. Come
and
on.
of the house of God,
Uh-huh.
and are built upon the foundation of the apostles
Now you see what it say. It say you are built upon the foundation of the apostles and what else?
and prophets.
And the prophets. So if you want to understand the word of God, you got to realize that the apostles also spoke the word of the prophets. So to understand the prophecies and the things that was given to Daniel, even Christ came in the flesh and told them in Matthew, he told them to go back and read Daniel and understand, whoso readeth let him understand. Because all this stuff was built upon the apostles and the prophets. Go ahead, brother.
Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone.
So he is the one that this building, this is the offshoot of it. Everything else is going to come around this cornerstone. All right, so the Lord gave the word to the prophets. The apostles came and spoke the words of the prophets. All right, so that's what we're doing today. We got to go back and we're going to look into Daniel and find out what's going on and where we at today according to what? The prophets that was given by the word of the Lord. All right, so now let's go over to Daniel chapter 2 and let's get into this. Go over to Daniel chapter 2 and we're going to pick it up at verse. Let's go over to Daniel chapter 2 and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. And we're going to look at this dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He called all his sorcerers, his wise men, all his guys that's supposed to be the one that give him advice. He called them to help him understand his dream, but they couldn't do it. So we're going to look into this and let's see what took place. We're going to pick it up at Daniel chapter 2 and verse 1. Go ahead, brother.
And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams,
Go ahead.
wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him.
Go ahead.
Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dream. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream.
Go ahead.
And my spirit was troubled to know the dream.
That's right. So he had a dream. He don't know what he dreamed. So he let them know, my spirit is troubled. I need to know this dream. All right, go ahead and read, brother.
Then spake the Chaldeans to the king of Syrup, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation.
That's right. So that's the normal thing to do. You know, you got a dream, you want to know what's the interpretation of the dream. The normal thing is, hey, tell me what the dream is. We'll interpret the dream for you. Go ahead and read, brother.
The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me.
So the thing is, so the dream is gone. But he still wants them to interpret this dream. You call yourself a wise man, you call yourself a sorcerer. I'm giving you all this money to sit up here and tell me all these things. When the time comes, you better tell me what it is. Go ahead and read.
If ye will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof,
Go ahead.
ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill.
That's right. So he tell him, you don't tell me what this dream is, we're going to turn your house into an outhouse. Go ahead and read.
But if ye show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor.
Go ahead.
Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof.
Go ahead.
They answered again and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it.
So there they go again. Just tell you got to tell us what it is. King, we don't understand what you dream. We wasn't even in, we ain't inside your head. But that's not what you make it seem like. If you're supposed to be a sorcerer and all that type of stuff, then you should be able to, you know, tell him what his dream is. That's what the king is thinking. Go ahead. Give me that pen over there. Go ahead.
Verse 8. The king answered and said, I know of a certainty that ye would gain the time, because ye see the thing is gone from me.
That's right. Go ahead.
But if ye will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you. For ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof.
That's right. So all this time you sit up here, you speak all these words to me, but when I need something, I need you to tell me something, you can't do it. So you see what the decree was. He's going to have all the wise men killed. Go ahead and read, brother.
The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's map.
That's right.
Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean.
Skip down to verse 13. So now Now what he getting ready to do is this decree finna go forth, but they let him know we can't do it. So now he done sent the decree forth, get all the wise men. And all the wise men included Daniel. Now they didn't come to Daniel regarding the interpretation of the dream, but they included him in being killed because the dream wasn't being interpreted. Go ahead and read.
And the decree went forth that the wise man should be slain.
Go ahead.
And they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain.
Y'all see that? They didn't even ask Daniel what the dream was, but they sought them to be slain. Go ahead, brother.
Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon.
So now Daniel's going to talk to the king's guard. He's going to ask him some questions here regarding why is this thing so hasty. Go ahead.
He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king?
Go ahead.
Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation.
That's right. So he tell him, man, hold on a second. Give me some time. I get it. But he's not going to get it from his own way. All right. But he just let him know, give me some time. I give you the interpretation of this dream. Go ahead and read, bro.
Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions.
And if y'all don't know who that is, for some people who watch online, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, their Hebrew names, but their slave name got changed, and they were called Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But Daniel called them by the Hebrew name. Go ahead and read, brother.
That they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret.
Go ahead.
That Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon.
That's right. Go ahead.
Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven.
Now drop down to verse 28 and go ahead. So Daniel took the dream before the Lord, and the Lord gave him understanding. Not only gave him the understanding of the dream, gave him the dream. Remember, the king forgot what he even dreamed. So the Lord gave Daniel the dream, and he gave Daniel the understanding of the dream. And we're going to find out what it is. Go ahead and read, brother.
28. For there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar.
So he let them know, just like the wise men and the astrologers said, no man can tell you this dream. But Daniel let them know there is a God in heaven that reveals secrets. Go ahead and read, brother.
What shall be in the latter days?
What shall be when?
What shall be in the latter days?
In the latter days. So this dream that Daniel's getting ready to interpret for the king, this is something that's going to take place when? In the latter days. Go ahead and read, brother.
Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. At 31.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Drop down to 31.
I'm sorry. Skip down to verse 31. So now we're finna get into the dream. 31, go ahead.
Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image.
Right, so the king, he saw a great image. Go ahead.
This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible.
Go ahead.
This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver,
go ahead.
His belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his head.
That's right. So now we got this image all the way from the top all the way to the bottom. Now we got a slide over there. We can show you. Let's look at this image right here. And this image over here represents the Gentile dynasty. Oh yeah. So this image right here, can you see this, brother? Yeah. Represents the Gentile dynasty. The first thing we saw was what? The head of gold, right? Right. All right, so we look in history, we see this head of gold. This represents Babylon, the rulership of Nebuchadnezzar. This is who Daniel was interpreting the dream from. Now, according to history, Nebuchadnezzar ruled, and his son, well, his grandson, Nebuchadnezzar, he ruled the kingdom, and when he died, there was somebody else came up, and then Belshazzar came up, and they ruled from 605 to 539 BC. Alright, so that's why I tell you, it's history. It's not fairy tales, a story that are just in the book for us to just look at as if they don't matter. That is actually a kingdom that was set up, and we can see in history the time frame of the Gentile dynasty. So we see that head of gold, what did it say, brother? That head of gold is this image. Head was a fine gold, his breast and his arms are silver, and what else in the 32? Yeah,
his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay.
Go ahead.
Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out with our hands, which smote the image upon his feet.
Go ahead.
That were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
Go ahead. So reason I want to show you all that, because we're going to get down to this head of gold. Go ahead and read.
Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broke to pieces together, and became like the chaff of summer threshing floor.
Threshing floor. So this is talking about during the time of Christ come back, when he going to take this kingdom and destroy this kingdom. All right, it won't be good for nothing to be blown away. Go ahead and read.
And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them.
Go ahead.
And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain.
So this stone that's going to knock this image down, or this image that Daniel is seeing, is going to become a great mountain. That mountain represents a government. So when this mountain come up, it's going to take down all these other mountains. All right? Go ahead, brother.
And fill the whole earth. This is the dream.
Go ahead.
And we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king.
That's right. So now we're going to look at and see what this dream actually means. Go ahead.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings.
So he's the king of kings. Go ahead.
For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory.
Go ahead.
And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven have he given into thy hand.
That includes everybody. That includes all things. You see what he say? He say, wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven have he given into thine hand. So it's even like that today. That's why you got to go register your dogs and your cats. That's why you got to get fishing license. That's why you got to get hunting license. Because it's been given to the hands of a king. And we still up under that dynasty today. Go and read, brother.
And had made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold.
Right, so now we see who this head of gold is. That head of gold is, like we say, it's Nebuchadnezzar. That's that head of gold. Now, this who Daniel was talking to at that time. He's the one that had the dream, and we see he is the one that headed this kingdom, Babylon. Beginning of the kingdom, Babylon. So this head of gold, Nebuchadnezzar, was from 605 to 539 BC. Okay? Now, that's it on that? Go and read.
39. After thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee.
That's right, go ahead.
And another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
That's right.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
Right, so what we got here, we got all the different kingdoms that's going to take place after Nebuchadnezzar. Once Nebuchadnezzar falls, excuse me, then you got another kingdom that's going to come up. And that other kingdom, he said, where is it at? Matter of fact, what is, I think it's on there. Go to the, I don't want to go to the next screen yet. I think it's, right, but I'm trying to get the, I think it's brass. Look on the next one. It might be brass.
Brass and irons of silver.
Brass and on the silver, right? Okay, so that's the next one. That represents the next kingdom that's coming up after Nebuchadnezzar fall. And what's that next one for?
Greece.
Greece is which one? What is he?
Belly and thighs of brass.
The belly and thighs of brass. Okay, so that's going to come up after Darius and the Medes and Cyrus and the Persian fall off. Okay, and what's next after that?
Legs of iron.
Legs of iron, go ahead.
Feet part iron and part clay.
And that represents the last kingdom, but keep in mind, it's all in succession. If you understand what's going on here, it's a great image from the head. That's why Daniel said, thou art this head of gold. So it's one big old dynasty right here. It's all the same. It's nothing that's being separated. It's not America that's going to go off and start its own kingdom. No, it's a kingdom that's going to start up top, and it's going and with the Gentile rulership and come all the way down, and it's going to be the Gentile rulership at the end. It's that simple. Okay? Now, let's go over to, we looked at the head of gold. Now let's go to Jeremiah 25 right quick. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. Jeremiah 25 and verse 1. Jeremiah 25 verse 1. Will you get it, brother? Go ahead and read.
The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim the son of Joshua, Josiah, the son of Josiah, king of Judah. That was the first year of Nebuchadnezzar.
Go ahead. So this is the first year Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Go ahead.
The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, from the 13th year of Josiah the son of Amon, king of Judah, even unto this day, that is the 23rd year, the word of the Lord hath come unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye have not hearkened.
That's right, go ahead.
And the Lord hath sent unto you all his servants and the prophets, rising early and sending them.
Go ahead.
But ye have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear.
Go ahead.
They said, turn ye again now, every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doing.
Now keep in mind, brother and sister, everything is now what's getting ready to go down with Judah. They were prophesied, the prophets were coming to them, telling them what they're supposed to do in order to not have to go into captivity. So once they go into captivity, now you finna see the four winds come into effect. Alright, but the first one gonna be Nebuchadnezzar. But before this took effect, you had the prophets going to them, warning them and telling them what it is they're supposed to do. Turn back. The Lord said the prophets rising early B times, warning them constantly, kind of like what's going on today. We constantly warning people, telling them to turn back, put down the pork, put down the pagan holidays, start keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. The same thing that was going on during the time of Jeremiah. Alright? So, let's go and keep reading. Where you at?
In the middle of 5.
Middle of 5. Go ahead, brother.
And dwell in the land that the Lord hath given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever.
Alright, hold on one second. Ariana, you get it, alright, bro? You straight? You gonna work that camera? Because we gotta go back in and out onto the slide. So when I switch over to the slide, you know what I'm saying, just go ahead and slide it, you know, slide over. Slide that shit over, man. Alright, so read that again, bro. Bring it back up to the top.
They said, turn ye again now, every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doing.
Go ahead. So now Jeremiah telling them what the prophets came to them and said. He said what? Turn ye again, everyone, from his evil way and from the evil of your doings. And that's what we tell them to do today. But this was during the time that they was in the land. He was letting them know that if you don't turn, the Lord going to take you out into captivity. Go ahead and read, brother.
And dwell in the land that the Lord hath given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever.
That's right. But if you don't do what he say, then you coming out of the land. Go ahead and read.
And go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them.
Go ahead.
And provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands. And I will do you no hurt.
That's right. Go ahead.
Yet ye have not hearkened unto me, saith the Lord, that ye might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands to your own hurt. Therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, and a hissing, and perpetual desolation.
That's right, go ahead.
Moreover, I will take from the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, the sound of the milestones, and the light of the candle. And this whole land shall be a desolation, and an astonishment. And these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years.
All right, so that's 70 years. That's how long Israel went into captivity. But before they was able to come back to Israel once they got caught off in the captivity. But I wanted y'all to see that these nations going to serve Babylon for 70 years. That's not talking about a literal 70 years. That's talking about something that's way beyond our time. Alright? That would actually be the 7 weeks of Daniel. We'll get into that some other time. But anyway, I wanted y'all to see that these nations going to serve the king of Babylon. Alright? Now let's go look at, where we at? Let's go look at what's the name. Now we see that Jeremiah prophesied to them, right? What was the time frame of Jeremiah prophesying? 605. I mean, I'm sorry, what was the time frame of the rulership of Nebuchadnezzar?
605.
Look on the screen, Nate. What does it say?
605,
605 to what?
539 BC.
605 to 539 BC, right? Okay, hold on one second. Alright, because we're going to look at history to see when all this came into effect. But before we go there, I want to show you, I want to see something. Now, I did a little history. I just looked up the birthday of Jeremiah. Now, you know, sometimes history may have it off. They never really have it on point all the time. But for the most part, the Bible has it on point all the time. Alright? But it says Jeremiah was born during the time of 655 BC, died around 586 BC. He started teaching or started prophesying around 626 BC. So what was the time frame of that date? Look on there again.
605 to 539 BC.
605 to 539 BC. So that would be in the time frame because remember, it goes down. Alright? So if he started prophesying 626 and it goes down to 605, then he was there during the time before Israel went into captivity. And that's the same with what's going on today. The Lord have the people out here warning you before destruction comes. That's all it. That's all Jeremiah was a prophet that was warning before the destruction came. Alright, so if he started prophesying in 626 BC, he was prophesying of what was going to happen, that Nebuchadnezzar was going to come up and take them into captivity. And we see in 605 BC, that's when Nebuchadnezzar came. Jeremiah was prophesying in 626 BC. He was born in 655. He started in 626, right at 30 years old. He kept the law. Alright? So, let's go look at the time of Nebuchadnezzar when he came up on Judah. Alright, so we're going to look at the last 2 million years. We're going to pick it up at page 86. And read that highlight right there. The bold, then go ahead and read the highlight there.
Solomon's temple's fall.
So this is talking about the time of Solomon's temple falling now. Okay? This is well after he gone, but the Israelites are still in the land. Okay? Now they done start going off and worshiping other gods and doing things that Jeremiah was telling them not to do. Okay? So now we finna actually see what Jeremiah was saying to them coming to effect by way of a history book. Alright? Go ahead and read, brother.
The decline of the nations began soon afterwards, and the 12 tribes of Israel became divided into 2 kingdoms.
That's right.
The majority formed the kingdom of Israel.
So the majority of the kingdom, which are the 10 tribes, the majority of them form the kingdom of Israel. Okay? And then you had the other ones made up the Jews. Or you say Judah, Levi, and Benjamin. Even Levi went along with the 10 tribes, but he came back to Jerusalem. Alright, remember Levi never had a land. He always went and ministered among the tribes. Alright, but at a set time he came back to Jerusalem. And then when he came back to Jerusalem, he went into captivity with Judah, Levi, and it was Judah, Levi, and Benjamin, but they considered them all Jews. But the main ones that went first, they considered them Israel. Go ahead and read.
With its capital at Samaria. But Judah in the south maintained the legacy of David and Solomon and kept Jerusalem as its capital and holy city.
That's right. So Judah was still in the land. They didn't get caught off in the captivity. All right, go ahead.
The Jewish people were now caught between the great power blocks of Assyria and Babylon.
Babylonian.
In 722 BC, Samaria was captured by the Assyrian king Sargon II. He deported 28,000 Israelites who became the 10 lost tribes of Israel.
Right, so there they go. They became the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Go ahead and read.
The Assyrians brought deportees from other countries to repopulate Samaria. These newcomers married Israelites who had escaped. Skip down,
Go ahead.
Escaped deportation, and their descendants became Samaritans referred to in the Bible.
So these ones, they brought these other people into the land, and they mixed with the Israelites, and they called them Samaritans. That's kind of like what's going on today. You got people, what happened? Kind of like what happened with, it just blew my mind. It just dropped my mind. Anyway, go ahead and read. It'll come back.
20 years later, the Assyrians turned their attention to Judah, the second Jewish kingdom. But though the invaders sacked many Judean cities, they failed to take the capital of Jerusalem.
Right. So even though the Assyrians came in, they turned their attention to Judah because they really wanted to take the kingdom out. They couldn't do it, so it says But though the invaders sacked many Judean cities, they failed to take the capital. All right?
Jerusalem survived for more than a century until it fell in 586 BC to the Babylonian ruler Nebuchadnezzar.
Right, so what that sound like? 5 what?
605
605, right?
to 539 BC.
Okay, so remember I was telling you sometimes the history be kind of on and off, but the Bible is absolute. But it says it fell in 586. All right, so Jeremiah, he died in 586. All right, so go ahead and read.
The city and the great temple were...
So he had, in other words, he had time to tell them before he died. He warned them ahead of time before he died. Go ahead.
The city and the great temple razed to the ground.
Were raised to the ground.
Were razed to the ground, and there was a massive deportation of Jews into captivity in Babylon.
Right. There was... Nate, do me a favor. Get your chair and get right here. There was a massive carrying away in captivity to Babylon. All right. There's a lot of reading going on. You all right, man? You sleep?
What happened?
You sleep?
What I read wrong?
I can't keep it correcting, bro. We're trying to keep it something. It's all good.
What I read wrong?
It was everything. All right, so 20 years later, the Assyrians turned their attention to Judah, the second Jewish kingdom. But though the invaders sacked many Judean cities, they failed to take the capital. Jerusalem survived for more than a century until it fell in 586 BC to the Babylonian ruler Nebuchadnezzar. The city and the great temple were razed to the ground, and there was a massive deportation of Jews into captivity into Babylon. And that's what Jeremiah was prophesying, letting them know that they was going to go into captivity if they didn't turn back. But the time of their rulership was during the time of when Nebuchadnezzar took the kingdom was 605, between 605 and 539 BC. Now let's go over to Jeremiah 27. Because it wasn't just Israel that had to come up under the rulership of Babylon. But Babylon was going to take Israel into captivity. But it wasn't just Israel that was going, as far as the physical captivity, Israel went into the physical captivity, and they had to serve the king of Babylon. But we're going to find out as we read, all the nations, the whole world coming up under the rulership of Babylon. All right, so Jeremiah 27, and pick it up at verse 1 and go ahead.
In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord to me, Make thee bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck, and send them to the king of Edom, and to the king of Moab.
Right, so make these bonds and yokes, send them to the king of Edom and to the king of Moab. Go ahead.
And to the king of Ammonites, and to the king of Tyre,
go ahead.
And to the king of Zidon, by the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, king of Judah.
Go ahead.
And commanded them to say unto their masters, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, God of Israel, thus shall ye say unto your masters.
So now go take these to your masters, and he gonna tell them what they need to say to these masters. To the king of Edom, the king of Moab, the king of Tyre, and Zidon. Go ahead and read.
I have made the earth and the man and the beast that are upon the ground.
So the Lord is saying, this is what you tell them. I made the earth and the beasts that are upon the ground. Go ahead.
By my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me.
Go ahead.
And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beast of the field have I given him also to serve him.
Right, so all that y'all got, the king of Adam, the king of Moab, all that land y'all got, I've given it to the king of Nebuchadnezzar. It now belongs to him. Go ahead.
And all nations shall serve him, and his son, and his son's sons, until the very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him.
Now y'all see what that said? And all nations shall serve him. Not just Israel going into captivity, but it said all nations shall serve him, and his son, and his son's son, until the very time of his land come. That's talking about during the time of the Gentile rulership. When that Gentile rulership is over with, then that's when their rulership is going to end. Until that time, this dynasty is going to be in effect. Go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve...
Go Go ahead.
which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon.
Go ahead.
And that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon. That nation will I punish, said the Lord, with the sword and with the famine and with the pestilence until I have consumed them by his hand.
That's right. So whatever nation don't serve the king of Babylon, the Lord said he's going to send the pestilence and the sword. And they're going to get taken out of their land. Go ahead.
Therefore hearken not ye to your prophets, nor to your diviners.
That's right. Don't listen to your prophets or your diviners. Don't listen to nothing they say, because I said that the king of Babylon, all this belongs to him. So don't let nobody come telling you otherwise now, because he run everything now. Go ahead.
Nor to your dreamers, nor to your enchanters, nor to your sorcerers which speak unto you, saying, ye shall not serve the king of Babylon.
Go ahead.
For they prophesy a lie unto you, to remove you far from their land.
That's right.
And that I should drive you out, and ye should perish. But the nations that bring their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon and serve him, those will I let remain still in their own land, saith the Lord.
Go ahead.
And they shall till it and dwell therein.
Right, so it seems like the opposite of this is, if you don't do what, you don't bring your neck up under the yoke of Babylon, the king of Babylon, then I'm going to take your land from you. So all you got to do is look around and see different nations that's still in their land. Evidently they came up under the yoke of Babylon. You know what I'm saying? The Lord still got them in their land. But as far as Israel goes, he sent us into captivity for disobeying him. You know what I'm saying? He told us to obey him. We wouldn't have had to go through this. But at that time, now he done gave this rulership into the Gentile dynasty. Now they run everything. So all these nations got to serve him until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. All right, so let's go to Daniel 7:1 right quick. Let's go look at this. Look at it again from another aspect. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
Go ahead.
And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
Go ahead.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth.
All right, so let's look at this. Let's look at this lion right quick. Now this lion is, once again, we got another image. First off, we saw the great image, right? We saw the great image. We saw the man. We saw the head of gold. That was Nebuchadnezzar. All right, so now Daniel getting it from another aspect. So it say the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. So let's go look at that lion. That way when y'all see it in the scriptures, y'all understand what Daniel saw. So once again, it says the lion represents, let me look at something. It says the lion represents the beginning of the Babylonian rulership Gentile dynasty. Okay? Nebuchadnezzar, the Belshazzar, also the head of gold of the image in Daniel 2. So we'll look at that later. But this is the lion that he saw. That's Babylon once again, okay? The beginning of the Babylonian kingdom from 605 to 539 BC. Okay, that's also that head of gold. All right. So now let's go ahead and look a little first. Go ahead.
It was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man.
Go ahead.
And a man's heart was given unto it. Given to it.
Go ahead.
And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh.
Right, now what we got to do is let's go into this other kingdom. Let's go into the bear, because what we're trying to do is we want to get down to the fourth and final kingdom. So we got to run through these right quick. So let's go look at the next one. The next one is the bear, which represents the Medo-Persian Empire. Alright, that would be Russia and Iran today. Alright, the Medo-Persian Empire. Can you see it? You see it? It's not. Okay, turn the header light on. Alright, so you got the Medo-Persian Empire from 539 to 334 BC. And you see, there's the Mede, Cyrus the Persian, and rulers of the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay? That's what came up after Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar fell down. Alright, and we're going to read about that. And also in Daniel chapter 8, this is also the rams that had 2 horns. Alright, and on the image we saw, the great image, is the breast and arms of silver on the image that was seen in the king's dream in Daniel 2. Alright, so go ahead, brother.
That's it on
That's it on that. So let's go look at this image we just now talked about. Let's go to Daniel 5 and let's pick it up at verse 1. Daniel 5 and verse 1. Daniel 5 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read, brother.
Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000.
Right, so now Belshazzar is the grandson, or they call him son in the Bible, just like, you know, they say the son. But he's a grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. And what happened with Nebuchadnezzar, he got puffed up, so the Lord brought him down, made him go out into the wilderness for 7 years and eat grass like a beast. Alright, so now he gets puffed up. Now the Lord finna let him know you finna come down. And you coming down sooner than you think. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 2. Belshazzar, while he's tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem.
So he got the temple. I mean, he commanded them to go get the vessels out of the temple that his father had brought it from Jerusalem when he brought the Israelites into captivity. Now remember, when we read in last 2 million years, he said Solomon temple. What it said, Solomon temple falls or something. And we was talking about the time when the Israelites were getting ready to go into captivity. But don't forget, inside those temples, you had a lot of vessels in there. That meant a lot to the Lord. The Lord told them what type of vessels to put in there. Okay, they didn't just come up with an idea, you know, like we do. We try to figure out what type of decoration we're supposed to put in the sanctuary. The Lord told them what to put in there. So all these different vessels they had inside of there, the Lord had commanded them to put these vessels in there. So now we see that Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, the Belshazzar, is now starting to drink out of these vessels with his concubines. Go ahead, read.
The middle of verse 2. That the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem. And the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them.
So he got his concubines drinking out of the Lord's vessel. They just having a ball. Go ahead and read, bro.
They drank wine and praised the gods of gold.
That's right, they drank wine, praised the gods of gold. Go ahead.
And of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone.
So evidently this moved the Lord in a wrong fashion. Go ahead.
And in the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the places of the wall of the king's palace.
Alright, so y'all see what that say? In the same hour came forth a man's hand. It didn't say a man. So now you got somebody writing on the wall now. Alright, go ahead.
And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed.
Right, so he saw that writing on the wall, then he got kind of, you know, scared. His countenance changed up. What happened? Go ahead.
And his thoughts troubled him. So that the joints of his loins were loose.
Go ahead.
And his knees smote one against another.
So he's shaking now. He's scared now. Because you done seen that writing on the wall. I can't remember what I heard say. One of the elders, he's like, that's where that saying come from. The handwriting's on the wall. Alright, but they get a lot of stuff out of the Bible. But we see at this point, you know, Belshazzar and drunk out of the vessels that came out of the temple of the Lord, and now you see this handwriting on the wall. Now, Belshazzar, he done got nervous. His knees done started shaking together. Your knees are probably shaking together too. You see some writing pop up on the wall. You look doing something you ain't got no business doing. Go ahead and read.
Verse 7. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Right,
so that's what his grandfather did, didn't he? Calling the wise men, the astrologers, and stuff like that. They gonna tell him the same thing. Let's get down to verse 10 and go with it.
Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lord, came into the banquet house. And the queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed.
That's right, because he was at the point, couldn't nobody tell him, so he was kind of worried about what this meant. So she said, don't let it bother you. We already got somebody that can take care of that. Go ahead and read.
There is a man in thy kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy God.
Y'all see what it say? In whom is the spirit of the holy God? Because she knew that this same guy who I'm gonna turn you on to, he was the one that interpreted the dream of your father. So she's saying him is the spirit of the holy God. Go ahead and read.
And in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods.
And that's that spirit that we got. We supposed to be that same thing to the world today. The same exact thing, but nobody want to come to the captain. That's just like them. He the last one on the totem pole. He called all his astrologers, his soothsayers, and everything. That's what a lot of people gonna be doing tomorrow, going to get their soothsayers. What does Scripture say?
Prophesy to us smoothly.
Prophesy to a smooth thing. Tell us things we want to hear, man. We don't want to hear that we sinning, that we breaking the law, statutes, and commandments. All right, go ahead.
Nebuchadnezzar, I'm sorry, and in the day,
Where you at?
in the middle of 11.
Go ahead.
And in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods was found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I say,
Go ahead.
thy father made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams, and showing of hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts, were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation.
That's right. So Daniel, she said, who the king named Belteshazzar. In other words, they changed his name too. His name used to be Daniel, but it got changed once he went into captivity to Belteshazzar, or Belt, B-E-L-T-E Shazar. All right. So she tells him, go get him, and he'll give you understanding on the dream. Go ahead.
Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou that Daniel, which are the children of the captivity of Judah?
That's him. Go ahead.
Whom the king my father brought out of Jewry?
Go
I
ahead.
have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee.
That's right. Go ahead.
And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing, and make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they could not show the interpretation of the thing.
That's right. Go ahead.
And I have heard of thee that thou canst make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom.
That's right. Let's see what Daniel say. Go ahead.
Then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let thy gifts be to thyself.
That's right. Keep all your stuff, man. Keep all your rewards. We're at Daniel 5:17. Keep all your rewards and your gifts and all that. Go ahead, bro.
And give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king and make known to him the interpretation.
That's right. Go ahead.
O thou king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor.
He telling him he gave this to your father. He gave him honor and glory, but he got puffed up. And you know this, but you still decide to get puffed up. Skip down to verse 22 and go ahead.
And thou his son, O Belshazzar, has not humbled thy heart.
Belshazzar.
Belshazzar.
No, that's Belshazzar, not Belt. Belt is Daniel.
Yeah, Belshazzar. Belshazzar has not humbled thy heart.
Go ahead.
Though thou knewest all this.
Right, so even though you knew all this stuff that took place with them, you still got puffed up. So now you got to pay it. Go ahead and read.
But has lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven.
So you didn't lift up yourself against man. You lifted up yourself against the Lord of heaven when you drunk out of the vessels and brought your concubines in. Go ahead.
And they have brought the vessels of his house before thee.
See that? You brought the vessels of his house. So something that small, even though we know the Lord run everything, it still means something to the Lord. Why you think when Christ came in the flesh, what he did when they was the money changers inside the temple, the synagogue? He went in there and flipped over the money table, right? And told him, you ain't gonna make my father's house a den of thieves. But that was just a regular house. That wasn't the third temple or nothing like that. You see what I'm saying? That's just a place where the Lord chooses to put his name. So you're not going to take those vessels to be drinking out of those vessels and disrespecting the house of the Lord like that. Alright? Go ahead and read. Now, keep in mind, he didn't just whoop Belshazzar, you know what I'm saying? Belshazzar and just vex him right quick. He took him out, and the whole rulership that they had gonna fall because of this. So that's how important this is. Alright? Go ahead, brother.
And thou, and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the God of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is.
Thy breath is.
Thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways. Hast thou not glorified?
Hast thou not glorified? So in other words, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, talking about the one who created them, he the one give you breath of life. So in the God in whose hand thy breath is, the one who controls your breath, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified. So you glorified the gods of silver and of gold, but you haven't glorified the one who gave you the breath of life. Go ahead and read.
24. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written.
Now here we finna get into the interpretation. I mean to the writing. Go ahead.
And this is the writing that was written. Meaning, Tekel, Upharsin.
Right. Meaning, Tekel, Upharsin. Go ahead. Now we finna get into the interpretation of it. Go ahead.
This is the interpretation of the thing. Meaning, God had numbered thy kingdom.
Right, so that's what meaning means. God had numbered the kingdom and what else?
And finished it.
That's right, go ahead.
Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances, and are found wanting.
That's right.
Paris, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
That's right, so now, he let them know that this kingdom now, because we get ready to see the fall of what? We seeing the fall of Nebuchadnezzar's rulership now. So now we get ready to go into the Medes and the Persians. Alright? But this is what caused that kingdom to go and come down. Alright, go ahead and read.
Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom.
That's right, go ahead.
And that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And Darius, the Median, took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
Go ahead.
That's it.
That's it on that? Yeah. Alright, so it said, in that night, Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, did what? Took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. That's 62. So that night he took the kingdom from him. So let's go to what's the name? Let's go to 4 Winds of Heaven, page 6 right quick. Make 4 Winds of Heaven, turn to page 6 to page 7, read the highlighted part. Alright, go ahead and read. Now we're going to look at the second beast. Go and read. That second beast is what?
The second beast was like a bear with 3 ribs in its mouth.
So let's look at the second beast. It said the second beast was like a bear, right? With 3 ribs in its mouth. Go ahead.
See Daniel, the 7th chapter.
Don't read the prince. Go ahead and read.
This beast represents the Medo-Persian Empire. Its first king, Darius the Mede, inherited the Babylonian kingdom at age 62.
Now y'all see that, right? It says that. Now then we see in the Bible at 62, but it says he inherited the Babylonian kingdom. Go ahead.
But did little to strengthen it. And it was ignored by history.
Go ahead.
In Daniel 8:3, the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. And the higher one came up last. This last horn represents the Persians. And Cyrus was the Persian who took over the kingdom and reigned from 550 BC to 530 BC.
Okay, go ahead.
Cyrus controlled the kingdom after putting down many revolts, and as king of the universe proclaimed peace for all. He was later killed while putting down another revolt on the eastern border of the kingdom.
Okay, so that's it on that?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so we see Cyrus came up after Cyrus and the Medes, Darius and the Persians. Darius and the Medes, Cyrus and the Persians came up after once they took out Belshazzar That's when they came up. Now let's go look at 2 Chronicles 36, because the reason why I want to go here, we see that Cyrus is also the king of Persia, right? He's a part of the Medo-Persian Empire. Darius and the Medes, Cyrus and the Persian, right? So by them coming into power during the time of what? During the time of 539 to 334 BC, that's when they came into power. Alright? But by them coming into power, you would think Babylon is now no more in existence. That's what you naturally think. That's why you have a lot of people thinking that Babylon is not in existence anymore. But let's go look a little further. Let's go over to 2 Chronicles, and we're going to look at chapter 36 and verse 22. Second Chronicles 36 and 22. Alright, we should all be there. Alright, so this is when he came into power. And he's going to give the Lord the glory for his position. So let's go and see what he said. 36 and 22, go ahead.
Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia.
What that say? It say the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, right? Alright, go ahead and read.
That the word of the Lord spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished. The Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kings of the earth have the Lord God of heaven given me.
All the kingdoms of the earth have the Lord God of heaven given me. So we see that, right? He took down Babylon. Now he's writing a proclamation that all the kingdoms of the earth the Lord God have given me, right? King of Persia. Go ahead and read.
And he have charged to charge me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah.
Go ahead.
Who is there among you of all his people?
Go ahead.
The Lord his God be with him, and let him go up.
Right, so who is there among you of all his people, of all Israelites? The Lord God be with you. Go on back up to Jerusalem and start rebuilding. Alright, so that's what that was about, but he made a proclamation. But notice what it said now. It says, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia. Okay? Now, let's go to Ezra 5 and 1. Because they going up to rebuild Jerusalem, but the people in the land gonna, kind of question this. But once the letter or the decree is sent forth, they gotta respect this decree. But we gonna see what Israel or the Jews say to them when they ask them, who gave you permission to come? And they gonna let them know who this king was that gave them permission to go up and rebuild Jerusalem. Alright? So we're gonna pick up at Ezra 5 and verse 1. And when you get it, go ahead and read, brother.
Then the prophets, Haggai the prophet,
Haggai, you had it right.
Haggai the prophet, and Zechariah the son of Iddo, prophesied unto the Jews that were in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of God of Israel, even unto them.
That's right.
Then rose up Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel.
Go ahead.
And Jeshua, the son of Jozadak, and began to build the house of God, which is at Jerusalem.
Right, so remember he said decree for him. He said all his people go up to Jerusalem, go ahead and build. So now they done came together, Zerubbabel, he gonna be in the kingdom too, building Jerusalem again in the future. Even though he did right now. But, so they finna go up to Jerusalem to build it. Go ahead and read.
And with them were the prophets of God helping them. At the same time came to them to Tatnai, governor on this side the river, and Shetharbaz. You ain't even gotta read that. Yeah, okay. And their companions said thus unto them, who have commanded you to build this house?
So they asked him, who told y'all can come back up here and build Jerusalem? Alright, go ahead.
And to make up this wall. Then said we unto them after this manner, what are the names of the men that make this building?
Right, so who's the one that sent you up here? Give us all the names. Who gave you permission to do this? All right, go ahead.
But the eye of their God was upon the elders of the Jews, that they could not cause them to cease, till the matter came to Darius. And then they returned answer by letter concerning this matter.
Right, so now they finna send a letter back to them to question who is these people that you sent up here? Why you sent them up here? Who gave them permission? All right, go ahead.
The copy of the letter that Tatniah, governor of this side, of this side of the river, and
on this side of the river,
governor on this side of the river.
Go ahead.
And whatever, and his companions, the Aphrasites, which were on this,
what is that? Aphrasites. Go ahead.
Which were on this side the river, sent unto Darius the king.
Go ahead.
They sent a letter unto him, wherein was written thus: unto Darius the king, all peace.
Go ahead.
But be it known unto the king that we went into the province of Judea to the house of the great God, which is builded with great stones, and timber is laid in the walls. And this work goeth fast on, and prospereth in their hands.
Prospereth in their hands. So it means that they taking off. They really read this thing. Gotta wake up. They building this thing kind of fast. Go ahead.
Then asked we those elders, and said unto them thus: who commanded you to build this house, and to make up these walls? We asked their names also to certify thee, that we might write the names of the men that were the chief of them. And thus they returned us answer, saying, we are the servants of the God of heaven and earth.
Go ahead.
And build the house that was built these many years.
They're reciting to him who it is, what they get ready to recite to him, what took place, what happened to their forefathers. So they telling him, we building the house, we the servants of the God of heaven and earth, and we build a house that was built these many years ago. But he's going to tell them what took place. Go ahead.
Which a great king of Israel built it and set up.
Go ahead.
But after that, our fathers had provoked the God of heaven unto wrath.
That's right. Go ahead.
He gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, the Chaldeans, and who destroyed his house and carried the people away into Babylon.
Right. So he let them know they was over here. A great king built this place, which you know is Solomon. Then they disobeyed the Lord. Then Nebuchadnezzar came over. The king of Babylon came and took our forefathers into captivity. All right. That's what they're letting Darius know, that these people are saying to us when we ask them who gave you permission to come over and build this stuff. All right. Go ahead.
13. But in the first year of Cyrus, the king of Babylon, the same king Cyrus made a decree to build this house of God.
Right, so I wanted y'all to see that, because what it says is, it said, but in the first year, now after they done told them all the stuff that done happened to our forefathers done got carted off, okay, now we coming back to build, and even though y'all questioning us, we got permission to come back. When did we get permission to come back? It says in the first year of Cyrus, the king of Babylon. The same King Cyrus made a decree to do what? Build this house of God. So I took y'all to see that, because this Babylon is nothing but being passed down. So just like you got Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, then you got Cyrus and Darius, they're the king of Babylon. So that leaves us today with Rome, the Roman Empire, the king of Babylon. It's the same thing. They just passing it all the way down. All right? So now let's go over to Daniel chapter 7. We're going to look at somebody else. Now we see that Nebuchadnezzar fell. He was the king of Babylon. And then we see that Cyrus and the Medes came up. Cyrus and the Persians, Darius and the Medes came up and took it in 539 to 334 BC. And then we got another empire that's going to come up. Let's go look at that. Daniel chapter 7 verse 6. Daniel chapter 7 verse 6. When you get it, go ahead.
After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Okay, so it says, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given unto it. Okay, so let's go over to the 4 winds of heaven. We're gonna pick it up at page 9 and read the highlighted. And you can also jump over to page 11 and read the highlighted. And then you got last 2 million years. You take you go to page the last 2 million years. You go to 103. Yeah, 103 highlighted. And we're gonna look at this third beast right here with the 4 heads and the 4 wings on the back of it. Okay. All right. So when you get it, Nate, go ahead and read. 4 winds. This book, page 4 winds of heaven, and this is by our elders, Brother Bowie in the Israel of God. Okay. It's a real good book. Go ahead and read that.
The third beast was like a leopard with 4 wings on its back.
Go ahead.
And it had 4 heads. This beast represented the Greek Empire. These 4 generals that became kings were Lysimachus,
Lysimachus, go ahead. Ptolemy,
Cassander, and Seleucus.
Go ahead.
After efforts failed by each king to overthrow the other, they all settled down and ruled the Greek Empire in their separate regions. The empire was one, just as the leopard was with 4 heads. All right. So
now, when this leopard came up, you gotta understand it came up with the first leopard. The first. Also, we got another animal. It's called I think it's the goat. The he-goat, might be the goat. Yeah, the goat had 4 horns in the head of it. Alright? But it also had a notable horn that came out of it, and it was broken. This represented Alexander the Great. So once Alexander the Great died, then you had his 4 generals that came up that we just read about that split the kingdom. So these 4 generals that came up after Alexander the Great died was Ptolemy, Lysimachus, Cassander, and Seleucus. Alright? They couldn't come to an agreement as to who was going to run this kingdom. So the generals, they just settled down in their own regions and they ruled the world at this time as the Greek Empire. Okay, so go over to page 11. Let's read a little more. All right, go ahead and read.
These 4 kings were not able to maintain this forced peace that was agreed upon.
So this forced peace that they came to agreement on, they were not able to keep the deal. You know. You have that peace for a certain while, but they gotta have that rulership. So after a while, they came to a disagreement and they started fighting one against another. Go ahead.
Because each wanted to rule the entire empire and began to war amongst themselves.
Right, so they weren't happy with just a piece of land. They wanted to rule the whole empire. Go ahead.
Eventually, the kingdom was severely fragmented. 2 kings were eliminated. Cassander died in 297 BC, and Lysimachus died in 281 BC.
Go ahead.
After he was defeated by Seleucus, and the kings were down to 2, the king of the north, Seleucus, and the king of the south, Ptolemy, which at the time were Syria and Egypt. Because of constant battles between the 2, the rest of the kingdom was left to mind itself.
Right, so they got into a fight. Okay, it was constant battles between those 2. After all the other ones died off, the kingdom was left to itself. But this made room for somebody else to come up. Go ahead and read, Nate.
Thus leaving room for another people to grow into power.
Who is this people?
These were the people of the peninsula, which later became Italy.
Who?
Italy.
Go ahead.
Out of which grew Rome.
Out of which grew Rome, yeah. Go ahead.
Our 4th and most fierce beast mentioned in the 7th chapter of Daniel. So terrible was this state.
Go ahead.
That Daniel had no beast in the creation with which to compare or identity it.
Identify it. Yeah, he meant identify it. Go ahead.
Therefore, Daniel just called it a dreadful and terrible beast.
Okay, now let's go over to what's on there. Let's go look at last 2 million years, page 103, the highlighted area. Now let's look at this time frame. Alright, this is during the time when Greece is getting ready to come up on the Medo-Persian Empire. Alright, so we also see that Greece is ruling what? From 334
280.
to 280 BC, right? Now let's look at this in the history book. Go ahead.
The 11-year march that built an empire.
Uh-huh.
After uniting Greece, Alexander crossed into Asia with 35,000 troops in 334 BC and marched against the Persian Empire.
Uh-huh.
In 333, he defeated King Darius at Issus,
Uh-huh.
pushed south to capture Tyre and subjugate Egypt.
So y'all know who Darius is, right? Darius is a part of what? The Medo-Persian Empire. So it said Alexander the Great came up and defeated him. Okay? Go ahead, read.
And in 331, returned to break the main Persian resistance at Gaugamela.
Right. So you see that? Now he breaking the Persian resistance. All right, he taking that kingdom down. So the next one that's coming up is the Greek Empire. After Darius and Mede, you got the Greek Empire coming up. All right, go ahead.
Babylon and Susa were taken,
Uh-huh.
and the ancient capital of Persepolis sacked. Before Alexander turned to subdue Persia's eastern province in Darius' 3-year campaign, he then advanced deep into India, which he expected to prove to be the edge of the world, washed by all encircling oceans. But here his troops, perhaps apprehensive about advancing nearer to the world's end, refused to go further.
Uh-huh.
Alexander turned back. He marched through the difficult terrain of Gerousia.
Yeah, Gross. Uh-huh. Difficult terrain of Gerousia.
To Susa.
Uh-huh.
In 323 BC, reached Babylon, where he died.
Right, so he reached Babylon where he died. But notice how long it took. It took 11 years. Then he conquered that. That's why on the back of the beast, what do we see? Look at the back of that beast. What do y'all see on the back of that beast?
4 wings.
The 4 wings. The 4 wings represent how fast he was going to come in and take this thing. How swift this beast was going to be and come into power. But it also said that he died. So when Alexander the Great died, then you had the 4 generals come up in his place. All right. So let's go look at that one more time. Daniel chapter 8, and we're going in verse 5. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 5. Okay, because we just looked at Alexander the Great dying, right? And then we see the four wings and the 4 heads on that beast. All right, representing. I'm sorry. Read it. Just go and read it. Let's go and read it.
8 and 5.
Just go and read it.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground.
That's what those rings represent. Meaning he just came through fast. Go ahead.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Right, so that notable horn between the goat's eyes, I got it in the book. I can show y'all right quick. Let me see. Let me see if it's on here. That notable horn is represented as Alexander the Great. But go ahead and finish reading that, bro.
Verse 6. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram.
Right, so the ram that he's talking about, guys, had 2 horns. That is also another part or another dream that they saw. They had the great image that they saw, the man all the way down to the feet. Then you had the beast, you had the lion, you had the bear, you got the, what is this thing we're looking at right now?
The ram.
What is that last one?
The bear?
Hold on, right here. What is this? This is the lion with
It's the leopard.
what is that? Yeah, the leopard with the 4 heads on. Yeah, so you had that, and then on the last one you got this dreadful and terrible dragon. All right, and then you go to another part of it, and then you got this right here. So it's represented as a goat, but it is still this right here. This is still the Greek Empire. So like on the screen right there, we have the Greek Empire, and it's in the form of a leopard with 4 heads and 4 wings, right? And this part, which is in Daniel, I think it's Daniel chapter, it might be Daniel
7.
Daniel 7? Alright. I think it's Daniel 7. I think this one right here is Daniel 7. I'm not sure. but we're gonna go read it anyway. But I think it's Daniel 7. But the goat, no, it's Daniel 8. Daniel 8. Yes, Daniel 8. So in Daniel 8 right here, because we'll see it. It says he came to the ram. Read what you got on.
Read it again.
Read verse 7, I think.
And I saw him come close into the ram, and he was moved with choler against him.
No, okay, come back up. Verse 5. Go to verse 5. I want to show them this picture. Verse 5.
And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth.
All right, so this is the goat that came right here, right? Now, it was a notable horn that represented Alexander the Great. That horn was broken, which represented Alexander's death in 323 BC that we just read about. When he died, we just read about the 4 generals, which are represented by these 4 horns. Remember we just read about the 4 horns? How they couldn't agree with each other? Everybody settled in their own little place for a second. Then they got mad with each other and they wanted to rule the whole empire. Alright, so that's what that represents right there. These are the 4 ones that came up after that notable horn died. They just came up in his place. Alright, go ahead.
And touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Right, so that notable horn, like I say, that notable horn that was between his eyes was Alexander the Great. Alright, go ahead.
Verse 6. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns.
So he came to the ram that had 2 horns. And the ram that had 2 horns is what? The Medo-Persian Empire, because they had 2 rulers. That's why it was a ram with 2 horns. Go ahead.
Which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close into the ram.
Go ahead.
And he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram.
So when he smote the ram, now he took down the Medo-Persian Empire. Alright, go ahead.
And break his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
That's right, go ahead.
But he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
That's right, go ahead.
Therefore the he-goat waxed very great.
So that's that he-goat right here. Now see, if I go back to that page, see that? Before we get to the goat right here, there's a goat right there with that notable horn. That one horn represents Alexander the Great. Okay, or the Greek, yeah, Greek. They told us great in school. I used to say freak when I was out in the street teaching, because he was a freak. But it was that horn, and then once that horn came down, then those 4 horns came up in his place. Those were his 4 generals that came up and took his place. Alright? Go ahead and read, brother.
And when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
So when he was strong, the great horn was broken. Go ahead.
And for it came up 4 notable ones.
So, and for it came up what? 4 notable ones. Alright? Then we just read who that was? Alright, go ahead.
8. Ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
Toward the 4 winds of heaven. Alright? Remember that? 4 winds of heaven. Okay? Now, is that it on that? Last 2 million years, right? 110 highlighted page, right? Last 2 million years, go to 110 highlight section.
110.
Go ahead and read it. Go and finish that.
And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven.
Alright.
And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
That's it on that? Okay, now read what you got. Now, you notice what it said in verse 9, right? It said, and out of one of them came forth a little horn. Okay? Out of one of these kings gonna come forth a little horn. Alright, this little horn is gonna be represented as, I'm not gonna tell you. Go ahead and read. Let's see what history say, and then we'll clear it up. Go ahead.
Today, 1600 years after the collapse of this empire, it marks on the landscape are widespread and include aqueducts, roads as straight as arrows, and the pillared ruins of once mighty buildings. When they conquered the world of ancient Greece.
When they conquered the world of ancient Greece, so that's what we read now. This little horn gonna come up, okay, and take down the 2 horns. Gonna take down the first off. The goat gonna come up and take down the ram with the 2 horns. Then he's gonna be in power for a little while. Once Alexander the Great dies off, then you got his 4 horns, the 4 notable ones that's gonna be in power for a while. Then after them, a little horn gonna come up. All right, but out of this same dynasty now. All right, go ahead and read.
The Romans absorbed the best of Greek culture and passed it.
So what it say? When they conquered the world of ancient Greece, the what?
Passed on.
The
Romans absorbed the best of Greek culture.
Right, so they came in and took down Greece and they started grabbing their cultures. And Greek got their stuff all the way back from Medo-Persia. Medo-Persia got their stuff from Babylon. All this passed down. Okay, go ahead.
And passed on its legacy of art, architecture, science, and philosophy to the Western world.
Okay, now hold it right there. We'll come back to that. Now let's go over to Revelation 13 right quick. Let's go to Revelation 13. Because what we did right now, what we're looking at right now in Daniel 8, Daniel 8, right? Daniel is in the rulership of Belshazzar. So when Daniel started citing off his vision, he didn't have to go back and start with the beginning of Babylon. He started quoting on where he was at, what he saw coming. He was in the Babylonian kingdom at this time. So he didn't have a dream about Babylon again. Okay? Now we into the kingdom 3 years into the rulership of Belshazzar. So now he's telling you what he see now. I see a ram pushing westward. That represents the Medo-Persian Empire. Then he says, I consider a he-goat coming. That represents the Greek Empire. And then you go down, he said, I see the he-goat wax very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken. 4 notable ones came up. 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. They gonna pass off. And then there's, out of one of them, gonna come forth a little horn. And he gonna, which gonna exceed great, which wax exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. That's Israel. But that's at a set time when he gonna wax pleasant that land, toward that land. Alright, but he just gave you a rundown of who all these was in the time he was in. Like I say, he didn't have to go back and repeat Babylon because he was already in the Babylonian captivity during the 3rd year of Belshazzar. Remember, Belshazzar is the grandson of who? Nebuchadnezzar. Okay? Alright, so now let's go to Revelation 13 and let's get an overall view of this beast. Revelation 13, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Alright, go ahead, bro. What is that?
And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Go ahead.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns 10 crowns.
Go ahead.
And upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
Okay, so it sounds like to me like we putting all the beasts together now, right? Go ahead. Go and read.
And the dragon gave him his power.
And the dragon did what?
Gave him his power.
Alright, so what we see in verse 1, it says, I stood upon the sand. Can you pull that up for me? He says, I stood upon the sand of the sea, right? I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay? Now, this 7 heads that he's talking about, remember the kings that came up. Let's count these 7 heads, okay? The first empire was who?
Babylon.
But who was the king?
Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar. You don't count Belshazzar, okay? Then who was after that? Who was after Belshazzar?
Medes and the Persians.
Medes and the Persians. So that's 2 more, right? There's the Medes, and the Persians, right? That's 3, right? Okay? Then
Greek. Alexander.
no, hold on. Darius and the Medes and the South and Persia, that represents 1 empire. Alright? So you got, that's 2, I'm sorry. You got 2. Now let's go to the other one. We got the Greek Empire. How many came up out of that?
4.
4. Because remember, it said that Alexander died and 4 came up in his place. So that's a total of 6. Alright? And the last one we got coming up, that little horn that's coming up, is Rome. That's 7. That's your 7 right there. So let's read Revelation 13 and 1. It says, I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. This is describing the beast. Okay? Now, not that one, because that's Rome itself. I need the whole beast. The whole beast. Y'all see it? They can't. Y'all can't see it?
That is better than
Hold
mine.
on, I'll show you.
That's it on the front of the book, right?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Show them.
Like that's it.
Nick, put it before reading so they can see it.
Put it right there. So that's the beast that we're talking about in Revelation. I stood upon the sand of the sea, saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads. So these 7 heads are the ones that actually started from Nebuchadnezzar all the way down to the Roman Empire. All right. So now it also says, and having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon his horn 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So this, what I do is I go a little further down before we get to the 10 kingdoms. But those 10 crowns right there represent 10 kings. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and look at it right now since we already here. Let's go and look at it. I think I got it here. No, read a little further. Let's read a little further. Go ahead. Verse 3. Go ahead.
And his great seat, and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death.
Go ahead.
And his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. And
so this deadly wound, now, where you at?
In the 3.
In the 3, so it said I saw one of his heads as it was wounded, right? So the head that's wounded, that is the Roman Empire. That's the one that's going to come back. All the other empires, you got to realize, all the empires that already came. It's one empire that's left. That's the one that's considered as the head that's wounded, okay? And that's the one that's going to come back. And they're trying to put it together now. The last person that tried to put it together was Mussolini. And ever since that time, they've been working undercover to get it back together through the European Common Market. Okay? All right, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4. And they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
Go ahead.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
So that's what? That 42 months that was given for him to reign is what? 3.5 years. That 3.5 years represents the time frame where this beast gonna have power to run the whole world. Alright? Go ahead, bro.
Verse 6. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints.
That's right. So it's gonna come a time when he gonna have power to make war with the saints. So if you're not in the set place at the set time, then he coming after you. If you keeping the true word of God. Go ahead, bro.
And to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him.
Go ahead.
Whose names are not written in the book of life.
That's right. Go ahead.
Of the Lamb slain. Of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
That's right. Where you at?
Verse 9.
Okay, skip down to verse 11 and go ahead.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Right. So remember, this beast is getting his power from the dragon. But these 2 horns that's coming up, these 2 horns, one of them is a religious leader, and one of them is the one that's going to be over the head of the 10 crowns that we saw. The 10 crowns are 10 kings. Okay. The one that's going to head the 10 kings that are coming, that we're going to look at a little bit. That's one of the horns, and then the other horn is the one that's coming out of Paris, all right, which is Rome. Now let me just read something to you right quick. Now one of the reasons why you had 2 horns come up now is because during the time, I can't remember what time it was, they couldn't. You had the king, the emperor, and you had the pope fighting over power. So after a while, they just came to an agreement, and both of them decided to run. Okay, so you still got the pope in power, then you got this other horn that's going to come up. These are the 2 horns that look as a lamb that we're seeing right here. But I'm going to just read something to you right quick, a little excerpt. Alright, it says, with this religious leader claiming power and the king or emperor claiming it also, there was conflict until a compromise was made. This compromise produced a spiritual and temporal leader. So your spiritual leader, that's going to be the Pope of Rome. The temporal one is the one that's going to head this army, or the economic policy. These are the two horns that are coming out of this lamb. Remember, Satan always do stuff just like Christ. Christ is what? The lamb, right?
Lamb.
Okay, so Satan got to do the same thing. But you got to understand, this lamb comes speaking with the mouth of a dragon. Okay? Alright, so what it says here, now there are two leaders of the Roman Empire, one pope and one emperor. Therefore, the two horns represents the two leaders. Alright? So, you got, the pope is already here. He probably gonna die, but his position is already here. We just waiting on that beast to show up. Now, the 10 nations are already formed. Okay, like one of the elders said, they may change them in and out, but they've been changing them in and out for a long time. Like when you really go look into these 10 nations right here, these 10 nations have been formed a long time ago. Okay, but it was just until July 1st, 2011 that they started calling themselves the 10. They weren't calling themselves that. You see what I'm saying? So it seems like they done made a solid decision now. You know what I'm saying? We still to see, but at some point, whoever this 10 is, whether it stays this way or not, if one go and change, they're going to agree to give their power to one man. And that one man is the beast. Alright? That one who's going to represent them, he's a military power. And he's the one going to lead them into destruction all over the world. He the one going to tell them to come up on the saints. And the Pope, he the one going to be doing all this magical stuff and all that type of stuff and speaking all sweet and all that type of stuff while he got his partner on the side killing all the saints. It's just the Inquisition all over again. Okay? So now, let's go over to last 2 million years and let's look at page 218. We're not done? Oh, that's right. We're still in. Where you at? 13?
12.
All right, go ahead.
And he exercised all power of the first beast before him.
Go ahead.
And caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
Okay, go ahead. I'm trying to catch you.
13.
All right, go ahead. Now y'all see that, right? It says he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. All right, you got to realize this same beast, all it did was it just died out. Just like the Roman Inquisition, the same beast is still here. He just sleeping right now. Remember, his head was wounded. So that wound gonna get healed and he gonna exercise the same power that first beast. Okay? Go ahead and read, bro.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
Right, so like one of the elders was saying, that ain't nothing new. They getting their power from Satan the devil, but didn't that happen before? Y'all ever heard the story of Job? When his kid died, all his children died, and the guy ran up to him and told him, hey man, fire came down from heaven, man, and took out all your kids. See what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It ain't really nothing new. You know what I'm saying? The same old tricks. Alright, go ahead and read, brother.
And he calls it 16. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
Go ahead.
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast,
Go ahead.
or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Alright, so that's it on that. So let's go look at this a little bit further. Let's go over to last 2 million years. We're going to pick up at page 218, and we're going to read the highlighted section, okay? And then we're going to look at something on the board. Alright? The highlighted section. Go and read that.
The test of strength.
Read that, the black. What it say?
Oh.
The bold print. Vicar.
Vicar of Christ.
Y'all see that right here? Hear that? Vicar of Christ. Alright, go ahead.
The test of strength between emperor and pope ended when Henry
Henry the Fourth.
Henry the Fourth. I can know what it was. I ain't ready.
That's right. When Henry the Fourth found his German vassal siding with the Pope,
and realized that he was beaten, as the Pope traveled to Augsburg in Germany to confer with Henry's rebels, Henry hurried south to meet Gregory at Canossa in Tuscany. Gregory forced him to stand barefoot in the snow before his castle gates for 3 days before pardoning him. Even though Henry later drove Gregory out of Rome into exile, the principles of Canossa, inspired by a compromise reached at Worms
In 1122.
in 1122. Long after both men were dead, it laid down that a bishop paid homage to the king or emperor for the lands he owned, but was chosen and consecrated by the church by the time of Pope Innocent III. The authority of the Pope was all but supreme.
Right, so by the time of Pope Innocent, which is that date of 1198 to 1216, it says the authority of the Pope was all but supreme. Okay, go ahead.
Innocent III kept an iron discipline over his clergy and summoned his bishops regularly to Rome.
So y'all got to come up to Rome. Okay, he summoned them regularly to Rome. Go ahead.
He was a patron of patron of two new monastic orders, the Franciscans and Dominicans.
Vicar of Christ. He was the first one. Pope Innocent III was the first one to use the title Vicar of Christ. Okay, go ahead.
When he said, "No king can reign rightly unless he devoutly serve Christ the vicar."
Right, so he said, no king can reign rightly. He called himself a king. No king can reign rightly unless he didn't call himself a king. No king can reign rightly unless he devoutly serves Christ's vicar. No, he did call himself a king. He was saying, them other kings, y'all can't reign unless you serve Christ's vicar. Alright, so now let's refer to the board. Okay. Y'all see this right here? Y'all see this word right here?
Yes.
Everybody see it? You see it? What is that?
Vicarious.
Vicarious, right? What's the meaning of that?
Substitute for.
Substituting, right? Substitute for, right? Y'all see that?
Yes.
That's Phili, right?
Yes.
Vicarious, Phili. It
Son.
means son, right?
Yes, sir.
Dei, D-E-I, substituted for Son of God. Okay? Now, remember Pope Innocent III was the first one to call himself the vicar, right? Vicar, or replacement of Christ, or a replacement for the Son of God. Okay? This is coming out of Rome. Alright? This is the office of the Pope. So what I did here, when I looked up the word, our elders taught us, how to go look it up. So I went and looked it up, and put all the numbers here. So let's see here. Alright, we got the V is 5, the I is 1. These are the values on the Roman on the numbers. Slide back so we can get this good on camera. That's good? Alright, the V is 5, the I is 1, the C is 100, A nothing, R nothing, I 1, U 5, with a total of what? 112, right? That's the total on this, okay? 100 plus 1 plus 5 is 106, right? Plus 5 is 111, plus 1 is 12, alright? Now we got Phili. L is 50, I1, that's 52, plus another one is what?
53.
53, right? So we got 112 and 53. Alright, so there's 112, there's 53, right? Now we got the main one, Dei, D-E-I. Don't forget now, replacement Son of God, alright? 500, 0, and 1. Now the scripture said the number of his name, right? Y'all remember that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is why we're going here. Go to Revelation right quick, bro, and read 13:8. You can stay over there. Just stay over there. And just grab your Bible right quick. 13:18 right quick. No, because he's got it on he's got the camera. 13 and 18. And then we're gonna add this up together. I left that so y'all can do some mental homework.
Here's wisdom. Let him hear that understanding.
Let him that have understanding, go ahead.
Count the number of the beast.
So let him that have understanding count the number of the beast. Are we not counting this number?
Yes.
We trying to figure out what this number of the beast is, right? Okay. So it says the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And what is that number, DeMarcus? What it say in the book?
For it is the number of a man. And his number is 600.
Go ahead.
3 scores and 6.
Right. So 600, 3 score is another 6 and 6. So that's 666 is the number of this man, okay? So now, we got 112, we got the 53, and we got the 501. So let's go and add this up. Alright? What's 1 plus 2? 3, right? Should be simple. 0 plus 1? Josiah. Come on, man. You gotta help us out. What we got? You ain't looking. 0 plus 1 is what?
3.
0 plus 1.
Oh, 2.
Oh my goodness.
0 plus 1. Thank you.
Oh my God.
I caught y'all off guard. What is that? 5 plus 1 is what? 6, right? Okay. Now, let's add this. 3 plus 3 is what? 6, right?
You said 9.
1 plus 5 is what?
6.
6? And then we bring this down, right?
603.
And we got what? We got the number of the man, right?
No, 6.
So, he's coming out of the office of the Pope of Rome, guys. That's him. Vicariously die. His number is 603 score and 6, okay? Vicariously die. This is the office of the Pope. This is the one that calls himself the God. That's why they call, if you ever look into history, sit back and put that jacket down. If you ever look into history, he calls himself the Holy See. HolySee. Christ is the Holy Seed. He dropped the D. He called himself the Holy Seed. Okay? So let's go a little further. Let's go. Y'all come on back. Alright, so now we're going to look at Daniel chapter 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse 41. Daniel chapter 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse 41. Start at verse 40. 2 and 40. Go ahead.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
That's right. So this fourth kingdom going to be strong as iron. It's going to break all the other kingdoms before it. Going to break them in pieces. They're going to rule. Alright, this is the fourth kingdom. Go ahead.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided.
The image. Hold on 1 second. Let me see that image again. Yeah. Can we see that? Alright, so this image, we're going to look at the feet right quick. Alright, you see that right, bro? Alright, his head,
Oh, read that?
no, I just want you to see it. Alright, it says, so, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Alright, so that iron mixed with miry clay represents the kingdom being partly strong and partly broken. If it was just a kingdom full of clay, then it wouldn't be able to stand. But you got that iron in there to kind of hold it together, and you also got that clay in there to kind of soften it up too. Okay? Go ahead and read.
42. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
And that's what it represents. That's what it represents. You got part iron and part clay. It means it's going to be partly strong and partly broken. Okay? Because this last kingdom, you got to realize, is also trying to come back. So you got it coming up. You got people coming up in this place, like the previous rulers that tried to bring Rome back, ended up falling off. They couldn't do it. All right, but this last time that they're going to try, it's going to actually come back together. Okay? Go ahead and read.
43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. But they shall not cleave one to another.
Go ahead.
Even as iron is mixed with clay.
That's right. So even though you're going to have them come together on one agreement and give their power to this one beast, they still not going to come together as one. You're going to have everybody ruling from wherever they at. But they're going to agree to give their power to one man. But they're not going to all come up under each other and say, okay, well, we'll just, you know, I'll be a part of your kingdom. You can be the ruler. It's kind of like with the last two that was ruling Greece. They was cool in their little sections for a minute, then they just couldn't take it no more, so they just started fighting against each other. All right, so right here it says, Whereas thou sawest iron mixed with iron clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another. So they're not going to come together as one, but they're going to agree to give their power to one. But they still going to stay separate kingdoms. All right, go ahead and read.
And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom.
So in the days of these kings, the God of heaven going to set up a kingdom. Go ahead.
Which shall never be destroyed.
Which shall never be destroyed. Go ahead.
And the kingdom shall not be left to other people. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms.
Go ahead.
And it shall stand forever.
That's right. So in the days of these kings, that's when the Lord going to come and he going to break all these kingdoms, and his kingdom going to stand forever. But we got to find out what kings that we talking about. So now we go ahead and look at these 10, the 10 that they call it. It's called the WEU. And these here are the 10 kings that we have so far. Unless somebody comes in and changes, but these 10 call themselves the 10. Alright? And the first one we got on the list is Belgium. Then you have France. Then you have Germany. Then you have Greece. Then you have Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom. And like I say, you can go look in history and see that these been around for a while. Last year is during the time when they decided to start calling themselves the 10. So I think, because even though you got like other nations, when you look at the 10, you got like another 6, then another 7 that do something else, but they don't have the voting rights of these 10 kingdoms. These 10 kings. Alright? So when they start calling themselves the 10, that means that it sounds like they get down to the place where they're starting to really lock this thing down. Alright, so this is what you have to look for. They're going to give their power to one man, which is the beast. That's going to go forth into perdition. Alright, so now let's go look at, go ahead and read.
For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain with thy hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, and the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God had made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter.
Y'all see that? So we telling him the great God had made known to the king what's going to come to pass when? Hereafter. So this is something that's way after Daniel's time that we seeing now. Okay, go ahead, brother.
And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
So ain't nothing you can pray to get out of it. You just got to turn to the Lord and hold on for the ride. Ain't nothing you can pray to get out. It say the dream is certain and the interpretation thereof sure. So it got to happen. It got to take place. Now, let's go look at Revelation 17 right quick. Revelation 17, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. You get it? Go ahead, bro.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
All right, skip down to verse 7 and go ahead.
And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which had the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not.
Right, so the beast that you saw was and is not. Was what? Was here, was in power at a time. As a matter of fact, let's see something. I think, where's Rome? Because we didn't get the Rome time. Let's see here. Rome time period was from, they came into power in 280, right? Now, history has Rome falling in 476 AD. Okay, but it's still around. That's why it's called Mystery Babylon. Now it might have failed, you know what I'm saying, but it ain't gone nowhere. It's still here. We're still up under the Roman rulership. Okay, so it says 476 AD, and out of this beast, where you at? What verse you on?
I'm on the middle one, midway of 8, verse 8.
Bring it back up, because what it says, where it said in verse 8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not. So it was in rulership at a time. It's not right now, and is to come. Okay? I'm sorry, and was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. So the bottomless pit represents what? It just represents that it ain't right now. You don't know nothing about it. You don't see it. It's quiet right now. Ain't nobody paying attention to where it's coming from. Ain't nobody paying attention to it right now. But it's going to come a time when it's going to ascend out of the bottomless pit. So that lets me know that it's not completely gone. Okay? So that's why I say the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and do what, brother?
And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition.
And go into perdition. That's destruction. Okay? Go ahead, brother.
And they that dwell on the earth shall wander, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world.
That's right.
When they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
And yet is. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So when they behold the beast that was in power, and is not in power right now, and yet is. But behind the scenes, they just running everything religiously right now. They still got their hand in everything. All you got to do is just get in the car and go ride up to World Changes tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? A ride to Edilon, you'll see it's full. That doctrine is everywhere, and that's how they're ruling right now. But we're waiting on this last beast to come up, which is also a part of this head that was wounded. Okay? All right, so was, is not, and yet is. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. And here is the mind which hath wisdom.
Go ahead.
7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
7 heads are what?
7 mountains.
7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, right? Okay, hold on one second. Hey, go back to that page in the last 2 many years I told you to hold on. Because the Lord, what he does, he going to give you everything geographically also, so you can point out who it is we need to be looking out for, okay? So let's go take a look at it. I think it was at 110. 110, right? All right. So now let's go read that. Read that top right there. What it say?
Rome was founded on 7 small hills by the banks of the river Tiber.
All right. So it says Rome was founded where? On 7 small hills, right? That what it say?
Yes.
Read it again for me.
Rome was founded on 7 small hills by the banks of the river Tiber.
Okay. Read 10 for me, Brother Lamar. I mean verse 9.
And here is the mind which hath wisdom. 7 heads are 7 mountains.
The 7 heads. So here's the mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on what?
On which the woman sitteth.
On which the woman sitteth. So wherever you see this religious organization that sits on 7 hills, then you know that's who you need to watch out for. Okay. So we got on the screen right there the 7 hills of Rome. So we can see that that's in Vatican City. And that's where the Roman Catholic Church heads out of. A small place. No, matter of fact, I saw something where they had a small population. Then I saw something where they had a big population.
That's a city.
Yeah, the city, and then the capital is Rome.
Vatican City is.
Vatican City is what? Is own state, right?
Yeah, there's.
Right. They're their own thing, and Rome is like the capital of it or something like that. From what I saw, like Rome is the capital now, something of Italy, but Vatican City is its own little thing. You can't. Its own country. Yeah, it's sovereign country. Yeah, so like I say, you can rob or you can kill somebody, but get to Vatican City, and you're good. But that's the one that sit on those 7 hills. And that's what you got to pay attention to, because when brothers try to go say America's Babylon, then all I say is, okay, let's find what religious organization in America that sits on 7 hills. And there's nothing over here that does it. Okay? Now, let's go look at 10 more? Okay, drop down to verse.
Yeah, what? 7 through 8.
Yeah, drop down to verse We're going to read. Go ahead and finish reading that.
And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. And the other is not yet come.
Go ahead.
And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th.
All right, y'all see that, right? It says there's 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. When he cometh, he must continue a short space. All right, go ahead.
And go into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet.
Right, then we just read about them. These are the 10 kings that have not received the kingdom as of yet, right? But gonna do what?
But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
And what's that 1 hour? That 1 hour is a 3.5-year tribulation. That's that 1 hour that they're gonna receive with the beast. Okay? Go ahead and read, brother.
These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
That's right. So that's how they're going to come together on agreement as far as who going to be their ruler and tell them when to move and all that type of stuff. Because all their army is going to be in submission to the Pope of Rome and also this beast. This beast hasn't been introduced yet. He's probably here, but we don't know him yet. We haven't saw him yet. Like I said, I might have a good idea who it is. They seem like they're prepping him and getting ready. But I could be wrong, though. But we'll see. You know, hopefully the Lord allows. Well, if that's the case, he run our age, so yeah, he ain't gonna. If we die, he probably gonna die right with us. So they gotta move quick. All right, go ahead.
14. These shall make war with the Lamb.
Go ahead.
And the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings.
That's right. So at a set time, they gonna fight against the Lord. But the scripture say he is Lord of lords and what?
King
of kings. So that means this kingdom coming down. All right, go ahead, brother.
And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes.
So when we see in verse 1 where it says, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. We're finding out what these waters are. Read verse 15 from the top again, brother.
And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest.
So those waters which you saw in verse 1 that he was showing to him, they're what?
Where the horse sitteth.
Where the horse sits at. Go ahead.
Are peoples and multitudes.
Go ahead.
And nations and tongues.
That's right. Go ahead and read.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Right,
so the 10 horns, which also had the 10 crowns, they gonna hate this whore. Go ahead.
17. For God had put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled.
Go ahead. So who was this woman though? Who is this woman that we saw in verse 4 where it said the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color? Who is this woman? Go ahead and read.
And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigned over the kings of the earth.
That's it. So who got rulership over the kings of the earth? We saw it in the beginning. Who got rulership? Who did the Lord give this into this? Right. So who? And it started with who? Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar was what? The king of what? Babylon. So read down to verse 4 and 18 right quick. Drop down to verse 4 and chapter 18 and verse 4 and just read that right quick. This is one part of the lesson, but I'm just show you that.
And I have heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
Come out of her, my people. Go ahead.
That ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Right. So a lot of people go here and they assume this is America. This is not America. This is Babylon. Babylon is not America. This is a rulership that stretched far and wide that was given to the Gentiles way back in the day. And they still got the rulership now, even up to this time. Okay? Now, but read verse 2. That's what I really want you to read. Verse 2.
And he cried, 18 and 2? And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon, the great is fallen.
Right, so we see now, 18 and chapter 17, verse 18 says what? And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. We saw earlier, right, where it said all the kings gonna serve her or serve Nebuchadnezzar. And if they don't, then he gonna take you out of your land, right? All the kings gonna serve her. So now we're looking at where it says, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So you drop down to verse 2 in chapter 18, and it says,
And he cried mightily with a strong voice.
and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying what?
Babylon the great is fallen.
So this is when Babylon gonna fall, at the time of the coming of the Lord. Until then, Babylon, that the Lord gave into the hands of the Gentile, is still in effect. Okay, it didn't just break off and it's not no offshoot into America. No, this is a worldwide rulership. We saw that he gonna give all the kings into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar and his sons' sons. Not Barack Obama and George Bush and Ronald Reagan and John F. Kennedy. It goes way beyond these guys. These guys just rule in a certain area. Even though people come over here, they call it the melting pot and all that, and they say, well, they come over to America and they pick up these wicked ways, everybody want to be gay and all that type of stuff. That don't make this the headquarters of Babylon, because they doing it all over the world. What people are, what they're missing is, I understand you looking at the sin, and a lot of sin is running rampant in the earth, but what you're missing is, you're missing the religious ruler. That's the one that's killing you spiritually. That's what they missing. And that's coming out of Rome. He running everything. Everything. They even have Christmas in January in Africa. The beast goes a long way. How's it that you got Jesus being born December 25th over here, but in Africa they celebrate it in January? It don't matter to them. They just want to be a part of the people that's drinking that wine. We just want to feel like we doing something to please Jesus. That has nothing to do with the Jesus of this book. Alright, so now let's go over to Daniel chapter 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. That's it on that? Yeah, you finished that. 4 winds of heaven, I'm sorry. 4 winds of heaven, 42. Let's see here. Let me go look at something right quick. Who are these 7 kings? It says the same 7 horns that were left on the head of the 4th beast. Alright? I don't know if y'all understand. Can you pull up that script for me? I want y'all to see this 4th beast. The dragon with the 10 horns. The dragon with the 10 horns, because he got 10 horns.
This one?
And yeah. And those 10 horns represent the rulers that came into power that tried to revive the Roman Empire. Okay? But when the little horn came into power, he plucked up 3 of those horns. And it left how many?
7.
7, okay? Alright, so if it left 7, let's see. These seven kings that are left that we just read about, it says, right? Who are these 7 kings? The same 7 horns that were left on the head of the 4th beast in the 7th chapter of Daniel, after 3 had been plucked up by the roots. We named 6 of them. Okay, and I would show y'all the diagram, but I don't want to confuse y'all. But it says, we named 6 of them. They were Justinian, Charlemagne, Otto the Great, Charles V, Napoleon, Benito Mussolini. You know, yeah, that's 6 right there, right? Justinian, Charlemagne, Otto the Great, Charles V, Napoleon, Benito Mussolini. That's 6. The reason we can name only 6 is due to the fact that the European common market has just come together, and the 7th horn will come to power in the days of these 10 nations. Okay? So he ain't came into power yet. Alright? But all the other ones done fell off. Okay? Mussolini was the last one that tried to revive it. But it's one more horn out of them 7 that's going to come up, that's going to try to revive his empire. He is the one that's going to be going forth with the Pope of Rome. Pope going to kill you spiritually, and this dude going to kill you physically. Alright? Roman Inquisition all over again. Okay? It says, and just to back it up, and the 7th horn will come to power in the days of these 10 nations, accompanied by the Pope. Alright? So, during this time. Alright? So, let's go look at one more place in here, and this should be it. Now, it says here, earlier we said that the temporal leader, a king, president, or emperor, was called the beast, also as was the empire. This man beast is what Revelation 17:11 is referring to. It says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. One would ask, the 8th what? The 8th one to put together and lead this powerful Gentile dynasty, Babylon. Why did we say Babylon instead of Rome? Because it doesn't matter how many rulers there were, they could only rule over the kingdom that Nebuchadnezzar had already ruled. Okay, so the ruler got to come out of this kingdom. Babylon. Alright, so let's go over to Daniel chapter 7, verse 1. Let's get an overview of this beast. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 1. You get it, go ahead and read, bro.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed.
So this is the first year of the king of Babylon, okay? Well, not Babylon, the first year of Belshazzar, I'm sorry. Not Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar. Go ahead.
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strode upon the great sea.
Okay, there's our four winds of heaven, right? It strode upon the great sea. Go ahead.
And four great beasts came up from the sea.
So the four winds of heaven strode upon the great sea, and the four beasts came up from the sea. What did it say?
Diverse one from another. The first was like a lion.
So we saw that, right? The first was like a lion. That was known as what? Nebuchadnezzar, right? Okay, go ahead.
And it had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked.
Alright, so the first was like a lion, and he was Nebuchadnezzar. He ruled from the time of 605 to 539 BC. Go ahead.
And it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
That's right. So once he was taken out, now we're finna go on to the next beast. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear.
So that second one we know is what? The Medo-Persian Empire, right? They reigned from 539 to 334 BC. Go ahead.
And it raised up itself on one side. And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it.
Go ahead.
And they said thus until it arise, devour much flesh.
Okay, go ahead.
After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Okay, so what is that?
Greek.
That's the Greek Empire, right? Their rulership was from 334 to 280 BC. Go ahead.
The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and snapped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
Go ahead.
And it had 10 horns.
That's right. So now, this last beast here, the Roman Empire, right? From 280 to 476 AD is the time that they say it was fall. But, like I got in my notes, 1922, they fell reviving, 1922 fell reviving by Mussolini. Because everybody trying to restore this Roman Empire. And it's going to come back. It's not, it's just, remember it was, is not, yet is.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not, it's just that the world don't see it. We see it. Okay? Alright, but they still trying to revive it. The last one that really tried to push it was Mussolini. But let's get ready to come back again. Alright, those 10 horns, go ahead.
Verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
So that little horn came up and plucked up those other 3 horns. Okay? Knocked the other 3 out, the Herulites, Ostrogoths, and the Vandals. Those are, out of those 10, those are 3 of the ones that wouldn't go along with the program. So that little horn came up and took them out, wiped them out. You don't even hear about them no more. Besides vandalism, or Gothic, Ostrogoths. Alright, go ahead.
And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
That's right.
I beheld.
Skip down to verse 17 and go ahead. So in this right here, the eyes of a man, a mouth speaking great things. Alright, go ahead and read. 17, what does it say?
These great beasts, which are 4,
go ahead,
are 4 kings.
Right, so now the interpretation of this, these great beasts which are 4 kings. Now we know that it ain't talking about 4 kings, it's kingdoms. Because we know 4 kings came out of the Greek dynasty by itself. You know what I'm saying? So it's talking about 4 kingdoms in succession. Go ahead, brother.
which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possesses the kingdom forever.
Possess the kingdom.
Even forever and ever.
Go ahead.
Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast.
So now this fourth beast is really troubling Daniel. So he said, I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was what?
Which was diverse from all the others. Exceeding dreadful.
That's right.
Whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass. Which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellow.
Alright, so and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up. So you remember the 10 horns that was in his head, then another one came up, but he took out 3 of them. So and of the 10 horns that was in his head, of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. So this kingdom gonna be a lot more stout than the other kingdoms that came before this last kingdom we're up under right now. Okay? Let's go ahead and read, brother.
21. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them.
That's right. Go ahead.
Until the Ancient of Days came.
So at the end of this kingdom, then you got Christ coming. That's why I say until the Ancient of Days came. Alright, but they're going to make war with the saints during the time when the Lord get them permission to for 3.5 years. But after this rule is up, then you got the coming of the Lord. That's why I say until the Ancient of Days came. Go ahead and read, brother.
And judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom.
Right, so after this, that's it. This is Christ's rulership now. Man is going to be done after this. After this kingdom is done, that's it for mankind ruling the kingdom. Everybody had their chance. Now Christ finna come, and everybody that's on this side, he finna run this thing. Okay? Go and read, brother.
Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth.
Y'all see that? So the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which gonna what, brother?
Which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth.
That's right. Come on.
And shall tread it down and break it in pieces.
That's right. So he gonna be the diverse from all kingdoms, and he gonna take over this whole earth. Go ahead. 24.
And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. And another shall rise after them.
Go ahead.
And he shall be diverse from the first. And he shall subdue 3 kings.
Right, so we see out of this last beast, them 10 kings that came up, another one gonna come up, and then 3 of them gonna fall down. Okay? He gonna subdue 3 of them kings. Alright, and what he gonna do in 25?
And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
So this little horn gonna come and speak great words against the Most High. How is he speaking great words against the Most High? The Sabbath day is no longer in effect. That old law you ain't got to keep no more. Christmas is the day that we supposed to celebrate the birth of Christ. Not in the Bible at all. It's okay for you to be born that way. Don't judge them. That's what he gonna say. That's how he gonna speak great words against the Most High. Go ahead and read, brother.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
You gonna wear out the saints of the Most High for how long? I'm sorry, go ahead.
And think to change times and laws.
That's right. So instead of you having an obvious sign from the sun going down from one day to the next, where you can absolutely see a change from one day to the next, when that sun go down, you can actually tell that you're going into another day, right? But what he say? He gonna think to change times and laws. He gonna tell you 12 o'clock midnight, you into a new day. But it's still the middle of the night. Okay? Go ahead and read, brother.
And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
Right, so we looking at this times. That time is 1 year, that time is 2 years, which is a total of 3, dividing the time is a half. So that's 3.5 years. Then we saw 42 months. Another place in the scripture, you're going to see 1,260 days. This is 3.5 years, the time of the Great Tribulation. Go ahead, read, bro.
26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end.
That's right, go ahead.
And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven.
You sure it's like under the whole heaven?
Yeah.
You don't say above the clouds or nothing like that?
Under the whole heaven.
So the kingdom going to be under the whole heaven. That means it's going to be on this earth. Go ahead.
Shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom.
That's right.
And all dominions shall serve and obey him.
That's right. So at the set time when we come into rulership by way of Christ, that's it for mankind. That's it. Ain't gonna be no more man can run the earth like he want to. He can do what he want to, pollute the water, put all the chemtrails in the air, shoot everybody up, and give these kids autism. You know, give people these young girls these birth control pills. Now they got commercials coming out telling them you might have, you may be, you probably can receive money now because you might have took the wrong drug and now you have your side effects on it. Oh well, the morning after, that's just killing babies right out the gate. You know what I'm saying? They killing kids right out the gate. But ain't gonna be no more of that. You know what I'm saying? When Christ started running this thing, you know what I'm saying? He gonna have this thing set up righteously. This is it for mankind right here. Okay? Go ahead and read. So go and drop down to verse 3 and then chapter 8.
Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other.
Go ahead.
And the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand.
Go ahead.
But he did according to his will, and became great.
Go ahead.
And as I was considering, behold, an eagle came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground.
So we just walking them down to make sure we understand. So if y'all have to see these in the scripture, y'all understand what it is. Okay, I mean, when I was coming up, I wouldn't even read the Old Testament, because I mean, all you gotta do is read further down to tell you that these are kingdoms or these are nations. But I didn't even do that. I saw this and I was confused. So all you have to do is just read. And now that we're going over today, when you get to these certain parts in the scripture, you see that these ain't nothing but nations, and mainly the Gentile dynasty. That's it. So now we're at the point we're looking at. I was considering, behold, the he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth. That's Alexander the Great. And touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Verse 6, go ahead.
And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in the fury of his power.
That's right.
And I saw him come close into the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
All right, so skip down to verse 9 and go ahead. Because I think y'all mainly got a part. But go ahead, I mean, understanding on that. Go to verse 9.
Out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great.
That's right.
Toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land.
Right, go ahead.
And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven.
Right, so he gonna wax great even to the host of heaven. That's to the coming of the Lord. So this last one gonna be in power until the coming of the Lord. That's why he said in the days of these kings, so this Roman Empire got to be here. Okay, it can't be no other people trying to come up and, you know, you can split up and go start your own communities all day long. But as far as being the king over this world, it ain't gonna happen. The Lord set it in place for a certain nation to be rulers of this world, and that's what's gonna happen until he returns. All right, go ahead.
And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away,
Go ahead.
and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, how long shall...
Yeah, skip that verse 19.
And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation.
Right, so in the last end of the indignation, go ahead.
For at the time appointed, the end shall be.
Right, so this is something that's going to take place at the end. Okay? That's the time we in right now. Go ahead, bro.
The ram which thou sawest on the 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
So we saw that. We saw the ram with the 2 horns, the kings of Media and Persia. The rough goat, the king of Greece, which is Alexander the Great.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
And that first king was who? I just said.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Nope.
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great.
Oh yeah.
The Greek, yeah. Alexander the Greek, that first king, okay? 22 and go ahead.
Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
Right, so when he fell off, then you have 4 kings that came up, but not in his power. Those represent his 4 generals, okay? Go ahead.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding, dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and holy people.
Right, so y'all see that, right? It says his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. So this is not what he's going to do on this earth. You know what I'm saying? When he called all this stuff to take place, it's not going to be something that he came up with. He getting his power from the dragon, Satan the devil. Alright, so that's why I say his power is going to be mighty, but not by his own power, okay? Now, let's go over to, I'm going to see something right quick. Go to Daniel 2 right quick. Daniel 2 and 35, go ahead. Daniel chapter 2 and verse 35. And I want, can you pull up, yeah, that right there, that's what I need to see right there. That's what you got on the screen. Daniel 2 and 35.
Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together.
That's right. So all is going to be broken to pieces together. Go ahead.
And became like the chaff of summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth.
Right, so that's what I want y'all to see. I want y'all to see that stone right there. See that stone right there?
Yes.
On the screen? You ain't even looking. How you see it? It's right there.
I already saw it.
Oh, you saw it? Okay, good. That represents who?
Jesus.
Jesus, that's right. That's that stone that's going to come and take out the last bit of this mountain, or this government, or this dynasty, okay? That's why I say, then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together and became like the shaft of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them, and the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. And that's Jesus when he returned. Now, let's go over to 2 Thessalonians right quick. Second Thessalonians. We're going to pick it up at chapter 2 and verse 1. No, I got one. Here we go. Oh, no. 1290. When you get it, go ahead and read, brother. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 1.
Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ,
go ahead,
by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand.
That's right. So don't be shaken or troubled.
Let no man deceive you by any means.
Let no man deceive you by any means. Go ahead.
For that day shall not come except there come a falling away first.
That's right. And that's where we are right now. That's already happened. It's been happening since Christ died and went back. Since the Israelites got carried off into captivity, and we still have a great falling away going on. But what else got to take place, brother?
And that man of sin be revealed,
Uh-huh.
the son of perdition.
That's right. So when that son of perdition or the son of destruction revealed, then we know that the coming of the Lord is soon. All right, go ahead.
Who oppose and exalt himself above all that is called God,
Uh-huh.
or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
Right. So this is during the time of the 3.5 year tribulation when he gonna be revealed. The son of perdition when he start whooping on the people that get caught here. All right. So this is that son of perdition. But this temple, I want to show y'all something right quick because y'all ain't got nothing to do. Let me just show y'all something. Let's go see where this temple gonna be at. Because you got the Palestinians and you got the so-called Jews over there fighting over land, and you got the Jews want to build a temple and stuff like that. But the Lord already got the place, Revelation 11. The Lord already got a place where they're supposed to build this temple at. And if you don't understand the scriptures, then you don't know that they're going to come to an agreement and they're going to allow them to build this temple. But let's just see where it's at right quick. Because see, it say, he as God sitteth in the temple of God. Okay? So let's find out where this temple at. Because all the other two temples in Jerusalem. Or in that area. Okay? So this third one, they're going to build one thinking they pleasing the Lord. And he going to stand in the temple as if he God. So Revelation 11:1, and go ahead.
And there was given me a reed like unto a rod.
Uh-huh.
And the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God.
That's right. Rise and measure the temple of God. Go ahead.
And the altar, and them that worship therein.
Right, go ahead. Now this is for the temple for when Christ get back. Because remember, Israel going to be destroyed. Before anybody get into the kingdom, you know what I'm saying, Christ going to minister for 3.5 years on this earth. During that time of him ministering, then Jerusalem going to be getting built back up. So this is what we seeing right here. There was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood saying, Rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar and them that worship therein. But what he say? Verse 2.
But the court which is without the temple leave out.
Right, so the court without the temple, go ahead.
And measure it not.
And measure it not for what?
For it is given unto the Gentiles.
Uh-huh.
And the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months.
Right, so it's a court of, I can't remember what they call it, man. It's in right outside of Mecca, man. I think it's called the court of the Gentiles. It's called something, but that's where they're gonna build this temple at. That's why the Lord will tell them don't measure, because they're gonna put a temple there, and when they put that temple there, this guy we just read about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 verse 4, he gonna go stand in that temple as if he is God. Okay? But it's gonna be right outside of Mecca. It's called the court of the Gentiles. That's what it's called. That's what the hell it's called, the court of the Gentiles. Alright? So I just wanted to show y'all where that temple at, where they're gonna build that temple at. And that's where he gonna stand. He's gonna oppose and exalt himself above all that is called God or that is worship. He's gonna even stop the daily sacrifice. They're gonna be sacrificing animals. He gonna come over there and tell them to stop sacrificing animals because I'm here now. You ain't gotta sacrifice animals no more. I'm on the earth now. That's deception. Alright, so let's go to Matthew 24. But believe it or not, a lot of people gonna fall for it. Because
They don't read.
they praise the Lord, they don't read. And if you got making statues walk and talk and doing all different type of signs out of the earth, you know, people do freak out over Chris Angel. What was that other guy that was doing all them tricks, the guy with the little haircut that was rising up, levitating and stuff like that? You know, when this guy comes, he gonna do a lot of things that's gonna deceive the whole world. You know what I'm saying? When the Lord said he would have to cut the days short, because if not, he would deceive the very elect. And the very elect is the ones that got understanding on what's going on. The ones who know how to flee at a certain time. But that's how wise and crafty he's going to be with what he's doing, because he is at the point that if the Lord don't cut the days short, he can even deceive us. All right, so Matthew 24, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Matthew 24 and verse 1.
And Jesus went out and departed from the temple. And his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple.
That's right, go ahead.
And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another.
Okay, so now this is during the time when they built the temple, the second temple. They're excited about the temple. They come to Christ and tell him about what they did. He tell them basically, you know, all is going to be taken down. And we know during the time of 70 AD it was all destroyed. But Christ is telling them when it's going to take place. Go ahead, bro.
That shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be?
Okay, so we got one question on the table. When shall these things be? What else?
And what shall be the sign of thy coming?
That's another question. Go ahead.
And of the end of the world.
And that's another question. So it's 3 questions on the table, and Christ's going to answer them. All right? First thing you're going to say in verse 4 is, which I didn't put down, is, take heed that no man deceive you. Okay? Many going to come in my name saying I am Christ. That's the first thing we got to look out for. And that's going on today. They're not coming in the name of Christ. What are y'all coming in with? They're not coming saying I am Christ, but they're coming with the, you know, they're coming with their different things, they different traditions that they do, and they put Christ on the back of it. You know what I'm saying? That's how they deceive the world. You know, I got into it with a lady the other day. She called the police on me. I mean, man, I was sitting out there bumping Brother Bowie. I was cleaning up a yard, and I had my truck open. On the Suburban, you can let the hood up in the back. So I had it up and I had the doors open, and I was just bumping Brother Bowie. I was sitting there with my son out there wrecking the yard, cleaning up, man. I was just I was just listening to the lesson. I was gone, man. Lady come outside and she was like, I know you love Jesus, I do too. You know what I'm saying? I love Jesus just like you do, but can you just turn it down a little bit? And I'm quite sure if I would have said, oh yeah, yes, I got no problem, turn it down, then we would have been cool. But you know me, I had to hit her with the haymaker. I was like, yeah, I turn it down, but we don't love the same Jesus. And she's like, what you mean? And there we go. I got into it. And by the time I got done, that lady was like, she was mad. I told Nate to turn it off. So I jumped in the truck, I turned it back on, I went to her, I said, is that too loud? You're going to stop playing with me. You better stop playing. I said, listen, I asked you, is it too loud? No, turn it off. I said, call the police. I ain't turned off nothing. The police came and was like, you know, you got to have it off and so and so and so. And I was like, okay, I'll turn it on, I ain't got no problem. Because I understand what the book say about how they got that sword, and that sword to come up on you. You know, you got to honor, respect the law of the land. But you know, people are deceived today. She thinking we serving the same God. I told her about you're not celebrating the. I said the Jesus of the Bible tell us we can't eat pork. Right. I said the Jesus of the Bible don't celebrate Christmas. Then by the time we got finished with the conversation, she was yelling, she was upset, and she's like, I don't believe nothing you say. I said you got to. First I told her, I said you want to come get a CD, you can have a CD and go listen to it for yourself. I don't believe nothing you say. I was like, wow, man, you just got the gospel. So when I walked up, I just say, Lord bless her. I hope she get it. So that was the opportunity right there. But yeah, she called the police on me because I'm going to stand for my God. I know what the God of this book said. She said, you mean to tell me that the Lord going to put people in hell for eating pork? Yep. According to Isaiah 6 and 17, he said when he returned, he going to consume those still eating swine flesh. You going to hit the lake of fire. It's that simple. But that's how people going to be deceived, man. She said, I believe that if I pray over anything, we can eat it. I said, who told you that? I can't find it in the Bible. I know you can't find it in the Bible. Who told you that you can eat anything you want? I said, you get that from the Roman Catholic Church. And that's the deception that's going on. Ain't nobody reading the scriptures. Ain't nobody reading the scriptures. But anyway, that was just something that happened during my week this week, standing up for the Most High God, man. So let's go to finish that. Where you at? Drop down to verse 15, brother. Because we looking at a time when he said, what should be the sign of your coming?
And when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet.
So when you see this abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, go ahead.
Stand in the holy place.
Stand in the holy place. Come on.
Whoso readeth, let him understand.
Right, so then we go read Daniel the prophet. We went and looked though. We tried to understand as best we could. This is my first time doing this, so hey, I'll be better next time now, I'm telling you. But I'm just saying, we went and read Daniel the prophet, okay? And that's what Christ told them. He said, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Because this is going to represent a certain time or a certain destruction that's going to come on this earth. Christ called him the abomination of desolation. What did Paul call him? The son of perdition. Or the man of sin, okay? Go ahead and read, brother. Skip down to verse 21, because we got to see what this time is. Go ahead.
For then shall be great tribulations, such as was not since the beginning of the world.
Go ahead.
To this time. No, nor ever shall be.
That's right. So it hasn't been a time like this on this earth. Even during the time of the Inquisition, there's not been a time like this. Even that time ain't been like this. And the time that's coming, or the time that we go through now, nothing like what's coming on this earth. So this is why your ears got to be on point, your spiritual ears and eyes got to be on point to see and hear what's coming down the pipes. All right? Go ahead and read, brother.
Immediate 29.
29, go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light.
That's right, go ahead.
And the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
Go ahead.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
That's right. So this is during the time when Christ get ready to come back on this earth. When he get back on this earth, he's taking his kingdom. But this is when? After the great tribulation. The sun gonna be dark. The moon ain't gonna give her light. This is after this 3.5-year tribulation. But understand something. We gotta get rid of this kingdom that we're up under right now. So let's go over to Revelation 19:11 right quick. Yeah, go and finish that, bro.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
And notice that he said he's coming with power. He's not coming with power to sit up there and show you magic tricks. He coming with power. The power to what? Take down this kingdom. Alright? Let's go to Revelation 19. Revelation 19 and verse 11. When you get it, brother, go ahead and read.
And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True.
Right, so now we see in Matthew, we just saw what? The sign of the Son of Man coming in the cloud with power and great glory, right? So now we see John giving it to you from another aspect, but the same thing. He said, I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was what? Called Faithful and True. And what else he do, bro?
And in righteousness he doeth judge and make war.
So he coming to make war. He coming to take down. He coming to fight somebody. Go ahead and read.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire. And on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself.
Now we saw that it was King of Kings. Now he coming with crowns. What them crowns represent?
Kingmanship.
What?
Kingmanship.
Coming to take over, man. Coming to be a king. We saw the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Evidently it's going to be kings, and we're going to be kings also, but he the King of Kings. He the Lord of Lords. But he also got crowns coming too. That means he finna knock this thing down, he finna set up a new kingdom on this earth. Go ahead and read, bro.
13. And he was clothed with the vesture dipped in blood.
That means somebody got to die. A vesture dipped in blood. And what is his name?
And his name is called the Word of God.
So we know that's Jesus, right? Okay. Now, keep on reading.
And the armies which were in heaven followed him.
So he got armies coming? What armies do?
Kill.
Armies kill. They make war. They don't come down to pass out no candy and say you did good and we just thank you for doing all this stuff for the Lord. I mean, you might as well bring some missionaries. Some Salvation Army people, or some people that stand in front of Walmart and shake their bell. That's what you need to bring. If that's the case, that's who you need to bring. The Lord bringing armies. He coming to fight. He coming to take this kingdom. See, man that got so puffed up, they don't forgot that the Lord is the one that gave them this kingdom. So they to the point where we gonna try to make all these different, missiles and different things to fight against the Lord. The Lord tell them, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up all the mighty men, bring them on up, and meet me at the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Lord coming to get it in. Ain't no plan going on. He coming with armies to fight. Go ahead and read, brother.
Which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen.
That's right.
White and clean.
That's right. Go ahead.
And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
That's right. He gonna smite the nation. All these other nations, they gotta go. He smite them, and he gonna rule them with what? A rod of iron. Go ahead.
And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God.
Go ahead.
And he have on his vesture, on his thigh, a name written.
Go ahead.
King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
That's right. Go ahead, brother.
And I saw an angel standing in the sun. And he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God.
That's right. Go ahead.
That ye may eat the flesh of kings.
Now y'all see that? He calling the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, telling them to come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God. What are they going to eat? Read that again, that next verse. 17, 18.
That ye may eat the flesh of kings.
Right, so they're going to eat the flesh of kings. What else?
And the flesh of captains.
That's right, come on.
And the flesh of mighty men. And the flesh of horses.
Wow, go ahead.
And of them that sit on them. And the flesh of all men.
Wow.
Both free and bond. Both small and great.
Go ahead.
And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
That's right. So he said, I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth, their armies were gathered together to make war against him. So all these nations gonna come together to fight against the Lord. Go ahead, read, brother.
20. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet.
So that beast that coming out of the Roman Empire that we was talking about earlier, that beast that's going to head these 10 nations, and the false prophet, what's going to happen to him?
That wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of
that
the beast.
mark is what? That's 666, right? So the ones who took that mark, that's 666, go ahead.
And them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Both mean two. Go ahead.
And the remnant
is here. Go ahead.
And the remnant was slain with the sword of him excuse me, that sat upon the horse.
Right, so the beast and the false prophet cast in the lake of fire, and the remnant, the ones that remained, they were slain with the sword of him. Why is he killing them and not throwing them in the lake of fire?
They'll be judged.
Because they got to be judged. The beast and the false prophet, they get their judgment when he get back. They going straight to the lake of fire. All right, go ahead and read, brother.
Which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh.
Now that's the supper of the great God. Now let's go to Ezekiel 37. Nate, you give me Daniel 7 and 2. We're gonna run through these right quick. I want to show y'all something. I want to show y'all the pattern. Ezekiel 37 verse 9, bro. And then you give me Daniel 7 and 2. There's a pattern I want y'all to see. Ezekiel 37 and 9. Where your Bible, bro?
So?
No, it's not. Oh, okay. Ezekiel 37 and verse 9. When you get it, brother, go ahead and read.
Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy.
Now this is the Lord telling Ezekiel, prophesy unto the wind. Go ahead.
Prophesy, son of man,
go ahead.
and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord God.
That's right.
Come from the four winds, O breath.
Now this is the chapter of the Valley of the Dry Bones, where the Lord is telling Ezekiel to prophesy and call the four winds of the earth to breathe on these dry bones, which is Israel. Okay? But the four winds, if it was just America, then he wouldn't have to call the four winds. The Lord said, matter of fact, we're going to read, but he's saying to the wind, thus saith the Lord, come from the four winds. That means come from all over the world. Because the four winds are who? The four nations. Babylon, Darius and the Medes, Cyrus and Persian, second kingdom. Third kingdom, Alexander the Greek. Fourth kingdom, Roman Empire. That's it. So he's telling them to prophesy wherever we got scattered among these nations. Because they run this whole thing. Okay? Go ahead.
Oh, breath, and breathe upon these slain. And breathe upon these slain.
Go ahead.
That they may live.
That's right. Now let's, Daniel 7 and 2, what you got? Give me Matthew 24 and 31, DeMarcus. What you got? Daniel 7 and 2, Nate? What it say?
Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, And behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea.
So now we saw earlier that the sea was what? The people, right? Didn't we see that in Revelation? So now we see Daniel saying himself, I saw my vision by night, four winds strove upon the great sea, right? Is that what we see?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go to Matthew 24 and 31. And then give me Revelation 7 and 1. Matthew 24 and 31. This is talking about the coming of the Lord. Matthew 24 and 31. What does it say, brother?
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
So the scriptures say, when Christ get back, he gonna send his angels to do what? To gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other end of heaven. That is outside of America's perimeter. Am I right?
Yes.
So we seeing the four winds of heaven. We seeing a pattern here. We saw from Ezekiel, America wasn't even on the scene. So he said what? Call the breath to come up on these four winds, right? Now we seeing Christ saying when he get back, I'm going to have the angels gather the elect from the four winds. We saw Daniel say, I saw my vision by night. The four winds strove upon the great sea. America wasn't even in the picture at that time. Okay? Now, let's go look at one more place. Revelation 7 and 1. Now, this is after the Great Tribulation. No, I'm sorry. This is during the time of the Great Tribulation. And this is before the seal is put on the 144,000 and the other nations that did not make it out of here. This is right before the opening of the seventh seal. Let's see what happened. Revelation 7 and 1. What does it say, Nate?
And after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth.
So it said, after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth. Go ahead.
Holding the four winds of the earth.
Holding the four winds of the earth. It didn't say holding the four winds of America. So all this Babylon is America stuff, that's out the window. He holding the four winds. The four winds, he gave power to these four winds back in the time when Jeremiah was prophesying to Israel, telling them to get it together or these four winds gonna come up on you. And we seeing right here in Revelation 7 that the four winds are still in effect. Had nothing to do with America. Wasn't even on the scene at the time. Finish reading that, Nate?
That the wind should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor on any tree.
So it sounds like it's covering everything, right? He said it was holding the four winds of the earth back so it don't blow on the earth. Now, another question I have, if the scriptures say that a third part of men gonna be killed, how many people do we know of it? Do we know from I guess the what do you call those things, the census? How many people do we all know from what they told us on this earth?
7 billion.
7 billion, right? What's a third of 7 billion?
Like
2
2,000.
Like 2 something, right? Like 2.5, something like that. How many people in America?
Not 2 billion.
Like 300 million people in America, right?
Sure.
Yes.
So how is like America gonna be destroyed? That's gonna cover the third of people that man that's gonna be destroyed. That don't make sense. The Lord said a third of mankind gonna be destroyed. 1/3 of 7 billion is almost 2.5 billion. 300 million, that's like a percentage. If probably 10% of 7 billion is 700 million. So it's probably like what, 5%? You know what I'm saying? Nowhere near. So some of the things that we saying, the people out here saying calling America Babylon, that's not the case. And if you listening to that, they're gonna get you caught up. Because you ain't gonna know what to do, you ain't gonna know where to flee to, you're gonna have the mindset that South America is the wilderness. Alright, so let's read this last place. Daniel chapter 7 verse 18.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom.
Alright, so when all this is done, and after the Lord send hold the four winds of the earth back so these people can get sealed, He gonna let them four winds of the earth go. That just represents the nation of the people that's coming. That's all that is. That's all that is. So after all this is done, the Lord get back and say the saints of the Most High gonna take the kingdom, whatever.
And possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
That's right. That's it on that. Alright, man, so that's the title of the lesson. That's the lesson, Rome, man's final kingdom before Christ's return. I hope somebody got some understanding.